Earlier today, Darkzero stalled one new upstart's team's hopes of flying overseas to play competitive Rainbow Six. 3 hours later, another upstart team has appeared, daring to knock the Legends off their perch. DZ can now banish 2 teams off their lawn and go to Manchester right now, or beastcoast can convert a first-place finish into the org's first ever major appearance. Welcome back to the NAL. I'm Jacob Eastlaxing. He is Jesse. This is our final semifinal, another game that will guarantee a Phase 1 Manchester Major participant, and it'll either be DZ winning 2 straight games on one day or beastcoast finally getting it done. And I am cool with either scenario right now.
Well, from the get-go of just seeing both the captains, both the IGLs, I was really basing them off their beards. Who has the better beard between the two?
Yeah, that's the hard-hitting analysis you get at 11 p.m. in the North American League studio.
You're welcome, America.
Darkzero and Beast Coast. I mean, 2 very different teams, right?
Yes.
DZ, the only roster coming into this stage that was the same as what they brought through SI through the very end of last year.
Yep.
Beast Coast, completely brand new roster. They swapped out all 5 players. The only one remaining from last year to this year is Fett, the coach. So all in all, I mean, this is 2 different stories. Not a lot of people believed in Beast Coast. A lot of people believed in Darkzero. They had a rough start. They're bouncing back though, and this is absolutely anybody's game.
And they did recently meet up, and it was a quick victory for Beast Coast. One of those fast games once again, that 7-1 on Chalet. I mean, so you can argue that Gavini already got his rematch win. So then it comes down to now, is this going to be DZ coming back, or is this going to be Beast Coast still reigning their terror of running through 7-1s, 7-0s, 7-2s, and being the best team that you said that they were going to be back in your tweet?
Yeah, the matchup when they played earlier in Best of Ones was a 7-1 win for Beast Coast over Darkzero on Chalet. It was a beatdown and an example of exactly why, even though DZ liked maps in some cases, when Beast Coast found their identity and figured out exactly how they wanted to play, they turned the Jets on and so far have not let up yet.
And again, it was insane because this was not the team that we thought was going to be. I mean, maybe Jesse did. Let me take that back. Jesse saw it, but a lot of us did not see that. We said it. They had an identity crisis. They didn't know what they were going to do. Gunnar came on and said, hey, we're going to listen to Matt. We're going to listen to what his calls are. We're going to see that difference. And then it was this quick change of pace. We saw them going into that map and it was like, oh, maybe this was going to be a close game. 7-1, 7-2, 7-1, 7-0. And it's just like, and then it propelled them back to first place. They were literally at the bottom, and then at the end of it, they're in first.
Yeah, and what really is impressive to me is, like, yes, they're a brand new roster, but it's not like they're just showing up and outgunning people. They've got really good ideas, and they've played it on a huge variety of maps. No team has played as many maps through the group stage of the NAL as Beast Coast have. You can see they have played a 7-map map pool thus far throughout the North American League. I believe it is Skyscraper and Consulate, the 2 maps they have yet to play, and even Consulate, they left open 1 match throughout the NAL where it could have been played. So just based on the map bans alone, it feels like they are willing to play 8 of the 9 maps, which for a brand new roster is incredibly impressive and incredibly important going into the best of 3s.
I think even just going into that 7-map pool that you're talking about heavily favors into those 4 veteran roster players that came from different rosters, all different styles of play, that then allowed them to excel on 7 maps that early on. That's insane.
I think for Beast Coast, even if you were to go to that 8th map, if Consulate is in the pool for you, it's also not the end of the world, especially if you've been leaving it in the ban phase quite a lot up until this point. I also want to touch on somebody who I think we in the back have been referring to for the past couple weeks as Rookie of the Stage. Currently the 4th highest ranked player by CGG metrics in the entire league. That's Diffuser.
I mean, this is the thing. We've talked about rookies coming into the league. I've always said, I don't care what you did in Tier 2. I don't care what you did in Tier 3. I want to see it in Tier 1, and Diffuser is doing that right now. He is actually leading this roster of veterans in all of these stats, and that's something that's so beautiful because, again, this team in an identity crisis. They were trying to find a foundation, and then you have a new player like Diffuser that gets slotted into that. That's like, okay, well, I'm going to let you guys lead, but he's the one leading, and that is so important.
Yeah, you saw it on the stats there. Diffuser, he had only 50 deaths. His survivability this stage has been incredible, and for only dying 50 times, before today had started, there was only a single player who had died fewer. That was Diaz. He had died 49 times. Now, I haven't compiled the stats from the last game, but assuming he died at least twice, he is now the player with the fewest deaths of any player in the North American League. So I think that really does speak to how he's been able to value his life, how he's really playing around the team. He's been a part of the pushes towards the latter half of the group stage. Yeah, he's been fantastic, and I love seeing that from a new player.
Based on a very quick stats check, Diffuser, 50 deaths, Spirits, 51. So currently Diffuser has stayed alive the most of almost any player in the league. Nafe and Diaz do have higher SRV ratings than he does, but on sheer number of deaths for Diffuser, it simply doesn't happen. So for Darkzero, the idea will be kill everybody on Beast Coast as repeatedly as possible. That is the challenge they face. An upstart team comprised of a guy that they had on their roster not too long ago. Gav's looking for revenge against this team, but DZ themselves put up an expert performance against LG, knocked that series out in 2 maps straight, and now looks like if they can use that momentum coming here, it could be a quick night for them.
Yeah, Darkzero have an incredibly tough task. I mean, you say quick night, it's already been a long night.
Yeah.
Darkzero played hours and hours ago already. They've had to keep their stamina up. They've had to keep themselves warm. They're coming into this game with a very difficult task. So up against Beast Coast now, you said it yourself, they've got to shut down the player who may be searching for some revenge and try to get the dub here to qualify to Manchester.
I mean, it can be a huge advantage, too. They just came off of a pretty good win. They can point out their flaws. They can point out their mistakes, where Beast Coast can't do that. Beast Coast just had more time to prep. And Kino said it best. Sometimes over-prep can cost you problems. So DZ can come in hot and really start out strong on this game.
Beast Coast haven't played in a week, whereas Darkzero just played about 4 to 5 hours ago or something. And one of the guys that helped carry them over the finish line was this guy right here. Pamba Party Time is finally back in the lobby.
Pamba Party Time. I mean, this is what I was hoping that we would see finishing or going into these playoffs. We needed to be seeing this because, like I said, he was looking a little stagnant. But then he must have heard me, and then he started turning up. Then he started taking 1v4s like it was nothing. Like he was the one-man army himself. I mean, all of LG tried to 1v4 this guy, and he's jumping out every single possible window on East to fight this. But I need to see this going into this game as well. I don't want this to just taper off. Even Pamba said himself, they changed what they wanted to, but still good performance from him.
Yeah, and we talked to Pamba after that game, right? And one of the things he said that stuck out to me was, you know what? I played well, but there were a couple times where I was getting a little stupid, getting a little dumb. That will be punished harder by Beast Coast than what we saw from Luminosity. Pamba played fantastic. He was the MVP at the start of the game for sure, but he also made a few mistakes. And I think Luminosity are a team who are going to punish those mistakes not quite as hard as what we will see from Beast Coast today.
Pamba certainly had a lot to say in that interview we had with him earlier, but you want to know who else had a lot to say? Gunner. Here were his thoughts coming in today.
I'm Gunners from Beast Coast. We played pretty good towards the back end. There's other stuff we need to change. Just excited to showcase we're not just like a BO1 team where we have like 2 maps that we crutch. Put in a lot of work on a lot of maps, so excited to show that we can like actually play more than 1 map. I just noticed a change in like everyone's confidence, especially like in the server. You can just tell by the comms and the way we're playing that everyone just feels comfortable and they're having fun. I would just say that we just finally became like a team instead of just like all individuals. We just followed Honcold and just listened to what he wanted us to do, and we just played as a team. I noticed with Darkzero, at least this stage, usually they're really good with playing together. It's kind of like what they're known for. But I think at the start of this stage, they weren't playing really that great as a team. I mean, I'm assuming for playoffs they fixed that, and it's not going to be as easy of a game as it was when we first played them. Like, at least when we played them, they weren't really playing that well as a team. They weren't really like fighting us at all. Kind of just giving us the map control we wanted, which I doubt that's going to happen again for playoffs. I think they're way more polished now, and they've kind of like figured out their mistakes. We're going to have to play a lot, like really clean, especially in a BO3 to beat them. They're a really strong team, but I think we're going to, honestly, I don't know exactly how we're going to abuse them, but I think as we just play like as a team, like how we're supposed to, like I just think team for team that we're better. I'd say Darkzero's biggest strength is just kind of like their team coordination. There could be like 15 seconds left and still get down on a good execute pretty much every time. I think they're pretty by the book team, and they do that pretty well. I mean, our goals for sure are just to win, make the major. I think that would be huge for us. It's what I play for. I don't like just playing in the NAL. Like, I want to go international like I have been. Having the opportunity to do so, like, obviously is really good. I knew our team was good enough, but like now we just have to show it in playoffs and actually make the major when it matters most.
Gunner looking to get back to a LAN for the first time since the Atlanta Major. It's been almost 6 months since he was last able to play in an environment where he saw all his teammates, and he's also the hype man for every squad he's been on. Going back to Parabellum, it feels like there's nothing that can stop this guy, but now we got to get into this series finally.
Yeah, before we do, I just gotta say, Gunnar, we saw him screaming there. A little backstage tip from production, because they always see the cams and the mics beforehand. Gunnar sings apparently before every game.
We've heard it
up his
before,
vocal cords. He's getting active. He's getting the energy up, and I love it. That's the exact thing that Gunnar brings to squads, and that's what's most important.
Hey, Consulate, this is a map that we haven't seen from them yet. That hasn't been played.
You're right, and they're
There's now
picking
8
it themselves.
maps. I mean, this is an important one. I mean, this is a map that DZ has yet to see how this team is played. This was when they even pulled Nighthaven against Sonics. That was the first time that we even saw that new iteration and how they were going to play. So this really could be detrimental for DZ.
The only problem is, remember, how attacker-favored Consulate has not been. So the fact that East Coast are going to have to start on that is certainly going to be interesting here.
And then we go to Clubhouse, which is a map Darkzero, on the other hand, have played quite a few times. And again, on the other hand, Beast Coast will again be starting an attack. They've chosen to choose to start on the attacking side for that map. So some interesting decisions being made here from Beast Coast.
Personally, I love starting attack on Clubhouse because it really gets the comms going, and if you can just be precise with how you want to play the map, and again, Clubhouse is a pretty default map. If you stick to the basics, you stick to how you want to play it.
If you can set the pace on a Clubhouse attack and then transition to the easier side.
Exactly. If you can just walk away 3-3-half or even a 4-2-half, you got to be feeling good there.
And then Border is one of those maps where we already saw Darkzero play it today.
How did Border get through another game today?
Avoid East. Avoid East at all possibilities.
It was a messy, scrappy game with a lot of early game fighting. And my worry is if Darkzero get to that map, that's going to be the 5th map that they played all day. Scrappy early round fights are where kind of fatigue can hit you the most, right? That's going to be difficult.
Absolutely, and especially in that Border match, Pamba was the one that was really carrying DZ on their shoulders. So if they shut down Pamba, then who's that going to fall on next? Yeah. Because we saw DZ after Pamba would die, they would get a little overzealous. Then those trades would happen from kicks. So it's a matter of, again, we need Pamba showing up, but also DZ to read into those plays and situations and how they want to formulate a plan around them.
I have a feeling I know the way that Foxay went in this game. No, never mind. He actually did the thing I didn't think he was going to do. I totally thought he would have said, nah, Darkzero probably have this, but he goes with the first place team. This might be an opportunity right here to get a little bit more of a leg up and get closer to him. Jesse, you're the only one within spitting distance. What do you do?
I wanted to go Beast Coast, but I gotta win. I gotta find a way back in here. And you know what? I like Darkzero because DZ, not only have they been to like every LAN in the last like 10 years, it feels like, but they've also got Pamba who's shooting straight. They got Bolo who replaced Gavin for a reason. They got Canadian who's out here shooting as well. Maybe not on Border, but when it counts, he does. So production, I'm switching my prediction. I'm sorry I told you the wrong thing. I'm going for Darkzero.
You could just see the hopium canister you were huffing right before the segment started and shoved it back
into
the
the
pouch.
oxygen one because that's been out.
Laxing, are you also going DZ?
I at least need to get to 50% because I should have played it safe like Fox. Fox, you're kind of boring. You should play it risky like I did. I was trying to get up there, so I don't respect it. I was getting a little risky. So you know what? Just so I can get to 50%, I'm just gonna have to say East Coast.
Okay, fair. So you're taking the easy way out. Jesse's actually trying to play for the win now at this point.
I can't win. I could have won and I could have played it safe like Fox.
We know.
But
we had your moment. You gave up. It's okay.
I didn't. I don't want to say I gave up. I was forced to give up after me just not running with and just sticking with the most obvious choice. I picked Los.
You did.
Why did you? That wasn't an obvious choice because I wanted to see if I could keep edging that lead, and well, I digressed.
Keep doing what? Never mind. We'll keep this train moving on right ahead. It's our last semifinal of the day, 3rd best of 3, but this one also sends people directly to the Manchester Major. Consulate's up first, and who's casting? I forget.
It's a mini Parker, I believe, is what you said earlier. I know the memory issues are starting to kick in, Jacob, but I'll help you along your way. It is me, Lynx, joined by Sam, and ironically, well, not ironically, coincidentally, I casted this exact same match 1 year ago in Copenhagen on the NAL in this exact same spot. It was Beast Coast versus DZ in the upper bracket semi. And Sam, unfortunately, if you're a Beast Coast fan, Darkzero won that game.
Well, you know what's funny? I didn't even see that game, but I could have told you that Darkzero won that game too. Because Beast Coast was not playing very well last year, but it's a completely different look now, Carter. This is a completely different team. The heartbeat in the war drum that they walk to, I mean, it's a completely different rhythm, and it's been fantastic. You heard Gunnar talking about it himself when it came to that little video snippet that we had there. Hot and Cold has provided something new to this team, and it has been prosperous for them ever since.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they were Hot and Cold has been calling the entire stage so far, but everyone actually listening to him more, or dialing in, figuring out their strats, their positions, their roles, ironing all that out, and then listening to Matt's calls more intently has been the secret sauce. But speaking of Hot and Cold, and to address something important that has, well, not transpired actually, Darkzero have stuck with their normal bands, Dokkaebi and Azami. Nick and I talked about that earlier. We always joke about it. But why is that important? Well, there was a lot of conversation about how Beast Coast started making the comeback that they did towards the end of the stage. And one big reason why they were able to were really good Monty executes, playing around that Montaigne, going in for plants, using him to clear positions. And Beast Coast are going against a team with very inflexible bans. Darkzero always banned Dokkaebi Azami, so they were presented with a dilemma: ban the Monty or ban the Doke. They've decided to go with the comfort, go with the latter, and still Dokkaebi a very good ban, Sam, but giving Beast Coast that Monty that they used to help get so many attacks over the line, it won them that SSG game. There's still time for him to change it, but Hot and Cold picked him immediately. I'm worried Darkzero's inflexibility might cost them a little here.
Yeah, you know, I think the main thing is to focus on with this, right, in mind, is that although it might be one tune that Darkzero seems to be capable of playing at times, sometimes that version is very good, like what we see on Consulate. I really like their Consulate defenses, especially with Canadian at the helm. I've always thought that he's very good at this map, and even though things have changed with the update to the map on how things work, especially from an offensive perspective, you can still exploit things somewhat the same way when it comes to the defenses. And I know I feel like a broken record when it comes to this, but we always roll back to this point when it comes to a map like this for him, don't we? It's the Solus, it's the Pulse. Canadian's gonna be rocking these the majority of the time. Somebody else will probably take the helm of the other. This time it's gonna be Pambazoo. But the whole story of this is just gonna be intel. They want to make sure that they understand where Beast Coast is trying to enter the building from. They want to try and get ahead of this.
If you have the Spectre on one side spotting drones, the Heartbeat scanner on the other spotting actual people rappelling up, we could gain so much information on where the push is coming from. You just have to hope the same is reflected, of course, for Beast Coast, as Hot and Cold, with the diffuser, mind you, is walking into Garage and is a little bit exposed to that yellow side. Surely we've drone top yellow, boys. On a Garage take, surely we've got the intel here. Impact grenade goes out. Gavini easy fodder. They're Hot and Cold on the quick push. Is able to knock down Bolo onto his back and out of the round. So only a 4v4. That could have gone a whole heck of a lot worse for Beast Coast. Only getting away with one death there when they had no idea Solus was bottom yellow. Might just be the blessing of the century, but Gunner's not too concerned about it. Pushing up the long secret hallway, slammed by Nathan Electrical. 4v3 for Darkzero.
Hey, feeling himself a little bit there too. Just spams the body up real quick. Gotta let him know a couple times. Well, how you doing? Hot and Cold, he's gonna rotate in on the back door here. The worst case scenario here in the world for Beast Coast. Yeah, they've lost some bodies, but there still is some opportunity here. It's just about the reads at the end of the day. This secret player is going to be the biggest issue, and that's exactly where things are going to start boiling over from. NJR will more than likely take down Spirits, and, well, indeed. Fuser tries to assist with that Adrenal Surge, but Spirits is down for the count now.
Unfortunately, out of commission. Final toxic canister goes out from NJR. Pambazoo with a quick read on the top floor. Shut down by a nice flick from Diffuser, though, at the cost of quite a bit of HP. He's got that final Adrenal Surge to just get him back to above 50%. One frag grenade as well to maybe route a defender out of position. But it seems it's going to be a rotate up to the middle floor. There is still that pulse on the board. No C4 in pocket, but Nafe certainly has one. Canadian instead gun up right now. So, oh, the melee hits in time. The shield caught off guard. Canadian a bit quicker on that one. Slaps down the Monty inside of Tellers. Diffuser still down below behind the rotation out of the round two. Two-piece for Canadian to end round one in Darkzero's favor.
That is a hard-fought situation for Canadian right there. Look at the smile on that man's face. They're already having a good time, and you can already see the psychological warfare too. We've had two body sprays, some tea bags getting added at the end of this. But the main story here is, man, is the way that we see Beast Coast trying to enter this building, right? We see them try and work their way in. They immediately get thwarted and kind of get away unscathed for what the situation could be, as you touched on, Carter. But past that, they continue to try and drill things slowly into that basement, just trying to twist that knife ever so slightly to see if they can just get any Darkzero member to come out from the thick of it. Try and come out and get some kills or something along those lines. Make it where BC can get a big pick. But it never really happens. Instead, what happens is Darkzero kind of start bodying Beast Coast on the swing. Gunner gets a little antsy downstairs, and everything really starts to go wrong. They try and rebuild and reassess, but every entry point that we see past that, especially inside of that 2vx, I mean, it was just problematic from the jump.
And the missed drone will definitely need to see that issue ironed out, because especially with Pamazoo playing the way he did earlier in that border game against LG on the roam, you don't want to leave that man any gap whatsoever. And just one kill was criminal. He only got that little. Any more and any opportunity he could very well take if he continues his form from that earlier series. But still only the first round. Plenty of time for Beast Coast to start heating up on these attacks. They will go with the Monty again. Of course, I mentioned that Darkzero's inflexibility in the bans could cost them if these Monty executes work, but at the same time, if they leave it up, no Beast Coast are likely going to run him consistently and create countermeasures for it, like something even as far-fetched as an Oryx Rima dashing him. It could end poorly, or at least exchanging a bit of shots with the player on the opposite side of that breach very early on, dropping down below as well, right below the main door. Canadian just jiggle peeks for info, backs off after a couple shots. So Darkzero the first to take damage, but Beast Coast still without a pick.
A little position there to take up at the very beginning of the round. Beast Coast begin wrapping themselves around this top floor. They'll all start with the windows as well as the balcony. They've already gotten access to that through one of the secondary hard breaches. Hot and Cold set himself up on the admin side, and they'll start dealing with this top floor setup. Go position over inside of front desk. Hot and Cold is going to try and work his way forward. Has had Gavini and Gunner in the area, and what a shot at a Gav as he'll immediately remove Pamba, who had quite the record earlier, but as of right now, not exactly the greatest start.
Also, it's kind of weird that we're talking about this in a serious capacity, but a key counter to the Monty with that Rima dash also taken off, and a key player, as you mentioned, but unfortunately with that toxic canister, Hot and Cold a little cut off from the rest of his team, has to go inside of the bathroom to try and stall off the push from NJR. Canadian on the flank will hop outside, deal with the Monty from the back. Beautiful bit of coordination by Darkzero right there. Gavini left wondering what the hell's just happened. He might be able to cut Canadian off on the rotate back, but default cam spots him. Lays a bit of intel that he is long desk. I believe he's able to fall back as well. Diffuser with a nice kill onto NJR, but Darkzero with a nice 3v1 to potentially end round 2. The Capcan has vaulted outside and gone back inside the building. Canadian 4-0 so far, by the way. Quite a good performance for the IGL of Darkzero, especially with that run out on the top floor, and now putting Diffuser in this 1v3. The rest of Darkzero getting on the board. No one telling the player lobby. Is that a 3K for Canadian that round? I'm not entirely sure. Either way, certainly Darkzero's second.
Yeah, it was. It was a triple for the old man, dude. That's crazy. And you said it yourself. This is something that really you don't see all that often. Usually when it comes to Troy, you're looking at really high value scenarios or really high value kills. Maybe not the most amount of them, but when he does hit them, they matter, right? Now it's just him tearing Beast Coast to shreds through 2 rounds. And this is definitely something they're going to have to try and figure out a solution to, because whether it's a Monty or whether it's a straight up gunfight, he's hitting them both right now.
Just love that bit of coordination to try and deal with the Monty on the top floor. I mean, the individual usage of the smoke canisters to cut him off, Canadian rotating up to shoot him in the back by hopping out the window. Really nice stuff from Darkzero right there to coordinate on those roams. Something that will really help deal with Beast Coast attacks, as a lot of the time on Consulate, especially if you are attacking that second floor, that first floor, you have to walk through choke points. You have to take control in the map. You can't really hold cutoffs as easily as you used to. So if you're able to choke off the exit or the entrance to a specific room, Beast Coast on their clear might find themselves separated just as we did. Darkzero in 2 rounds, commanding a very solid control of the map that could really cause Beast Coast problems if it's undealt with.
I also love how Darkzero are addressing this Monty with the utility that they're bringing. You got the EDDs, got some Elusies in here too on top of the Goo Mines. And this is just Shield's worst nightmare. I mean, it's a good thing he's Monty, because if you were a Blitz, you're more than likely just dead to rights as soon as you make a misstep. But at least he's going to have that shield extended and you can walk back. And some more of these aggressive tendencies. Impact out. This was going to eat up that exothermic there from Gav. Speaking of hard breach, it's just going to be Gunner that backs this up. Another lineup here for NJR, so they will be able to delay this a little while longer. But what's going to be the answer here from BC?
Well, bash their head against the garage breach, I think, was the unfortunate call made there, as with 2 impact grenades and 2 exothermics. NJR, very easy lineup, is able to knock down almost the entirety of Beast Coast's hard breaching supply. They've still got the Maverick, but that's infinitely more noisy over a very long period of time. They'll instead try to burst into the site off the back of that Monty, hot and cold turning to allow Diffuser to enter into yellow itself, but Bolo's just upstairs, holding a vertical angle, watching that very doorway, unaccounted for by Beast Coast. He even has support from Panbazoo on yellow stairs to make sure nobody can rotate up. Beast Coast problem solving right now a little lackluster with still half the round to go. Gavini will try to start walking up the stairs. Trigger the prox alarm for just a little bit, but now reset.
And they're dead in the water right now. Darkzero have so many different audibles that they can call in. They've already exploiting one of those. It's still swing in from behind. Yeah, Panbazoo, kind of a miscalculation on the impact, but still, the moral of the story stays the same. Beast Coast, they're stuck inside of yellow. Don't really have a lot of opportunities to try and fight out of this because Darkzero holding the keys to every exit point across the entirety of this area. Spirits, probably the only new fold here as we do see him positioned over near front door. But Gunner actually going to be the big part about this as he'll be able to take one down. But Canadian, he's now found a new home all the way upstairs. We originally saw Bolo in this position, but instead it's going to be Troy yet again. He's 6-0 as he continues on this warpath with 40 seconds remaining.
Now Spirits has to join the fray, which I feel like that's the first time I've said his name or he's been mentioned by either you or I. I mean, you said it once this round, I've said it once, and I feel like the impact from Spirits has really not been that stated so far. Finally, he gets a kill on the board. Asking you shall receive. And Bolo catches him asking for a little too much on the bottom spiral position. That's more than he bargained for. Hot and cold on 1 HP. 3 guns in his way, 3 guns in front. We'll find a nice shot on to Bolo, but it's 3 rounds in a row for Darkzero. Timeout almost undoubtedly incoming for Beast Coast.
Yeah, we have to stop this right now, right here. And the big thing is that we see happen, the big issue with that play is that they choose to try and go direct. The delay happens a little bit from those impacts. That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that they have no info as to what's happening on that mid floor with that castle setup. They push in to try and get to yellow pillar. They're immediately cut down from Bolo on verticality. And you just can't have that in a position like that because then things start to play out like this. The only fight that we really see go on in a different portion of the map is Spirits being over near front door. That's really it. Past that, Beast Coast are just smacking their head into this brick wall, hoping that these fights up against Darkzero go wrong, and they're clearly not going their way.
It's a bit ironic, too, because we heard Gunner talk about in the interview that one of the reasons they were able to beat Darkzero so handedly was Darkzero on the defense were giving them all the control they wanted. And so Beast Coast, facing minimal resistance, were able to just go about their plan without meeting any obstacles. And with that recognition, you think, okay, going into today, if Darkzero run more roams or more extensions, Beast Coast should have answers for them. Clearly, they recognize it. Well, assuming that that's the game plan, it's not being transitioned to game, because Darkzero, as Gunner very astutely pointed out, are not giving them free control. As you said, with that castle setup, huge problem. Vertical angles, huge problems. Panbazoo on the roam with the Solus, Canadian on the roam with the Pulse. There's so many things Darkzero are placing off-site a lot of the time that Beast Coast aren't dealing with. They're just trying to walk in with the Monty, go for these executes without getting any of the control they actually need to make it succeed. I imagine that is probably what Fett touched upon in the timeout, because it's what DZ are doing consistently. It's what they're going to do again on this split setup, which makes it a great time for Beast Coast to adapt and get their first round on the attack here, assuming they're able to execute that.
Oh, that's the thing about Consulate, right? The best teams in the world when it comes to Consulate, they know how to make this map tick when it comes to full map control. If you have the capabilities of making it to where your offense can only hold a very small portion and has to work with this tiny little grip and what feels like a sheer fall off on the side of a mountain, that's how you want things going. And so far, Darkzero have been able to create that exact scenario, a perfect storm that Beast Coast have been constantly trying to work into, and it's just been utter calamity. That timeout, I think it was perfectly timed. They definitely need some time to just calm down, rethink, figure out how they want to go about this again. Clearly, I don't think that it's going to be the Monty that we're going to be swapped out, and Hot and Cold doesn't think that either. They just need to try and find a different way to build up around this map and find some initial blows to work off of. And yeah, Nafe, on his Spirits, huge pickup, especially on his Spirits. We don't really see him get picked off too early on very often, but be able to pick off Canadian on that Pulse, that's going to be a really big play coming in the latter portion of this.
I mean, those were two really good reads by both teams. Canadian obviously playing Pulse in that position. That's the exact same spot he was playing on the site against OXG last week. A bit extended in Visa, but how OXG dealt with it was they went above, took admin control, shot him from the vert. Well, this time, Beast Coast just tried to push him through the Visa door. Darkzero had a pre-play C4, detonate Spirits, but Beast Coast also realized that Canadian's by himself, and they're able to power that position, get the 4v4. But again, he's been unread. Another case on the split site where Beast Coast have misdroned a key point of entry. Rookie mistakes out from the newbie squad. Despite being the first place team in the NAL, Beast Coast looking very rough in all 4 rounds of Consulate so far.
And that's the thing. When it comes to a map like this, it's your pick. You got to consider these offensive sides and how they go. And Beast Coast, they most definitely have. It just hasn't been going their way, clearly. A lot of these things, big miscalculations that have led to massive deaths. Hot and Cold, losing him on that Monty, it cannot go understated. That's one of their most valuable chips on the table. And now they're left practically dead in the water. You have the 3 versus 3, but the drones are practically gone. You got 2 active, maybe holding down a rotate of some sort, but Darkzero, they have a lot going for themselves. And JR still has a smoke, although still has a nitro cell. And not only that, you still have 2 very hot guns in those SMG-11s as well. Diffuser has to try and help, has to try and pray that Darkzero will walk into on these lines of sight. So far, nothing's came, nothing's gone. Gavini's gonna hop in. Diffuser does have this case. He feels like he knows where he is, and Gavini's done it. He's opened up the entire door up against his old team. A round that he might steal away. Pambazoo dashes downstairs. Can he find the angle? He cannot. It's Gunner out of thin air. Beast Coast make a round.
Gavini just sprinting down Visa stairs. And I mean, let's be totally honest here. Beast Coast did not deserve that round. 100% did not deserve that round. No, and listen, Gavini, great player.
You're right.
Yeah, great heads-up play, like great showcase of mechanical skill. Gunner as well, I will say, specifically finding that solace to take her down on the vert. Even bigger than Gavini's play, in my opinion, because that was still a very losable round with that angle Pambazoo almost got. And if Gunner doesn't get that kill, all of that work is for naught. But still an exceptionally poor round for Beast Coast after the early round ends, because I like the way they power Canadian's position. Again, they missed the C4 pre-place below Visa, but hey, that's a good play from Darkzero. You go 1 for 1, that's okay. Then after that, again, we're misdroning a part of the map where we're sending in the Monty. Just like round 1, it was yellow stairs and garage last time. The ace died instead of the Monty, but the Monty was very exposed. And this time, it's actually the cornerstone of many of Beast Coast attacks taken down because of that misdrone. It has happened so consistently, even after the timeout. I'm not particularly shocked that Beast Coast are starting to go away from this, because the secret sauce is not tasting nearly as good as it once did. And on the CEO site, it seems we're likely just going to aim for a more traditional CEO plant.
This is a little bit of that veteраnism surely showing from Hot and Cold as well. The timeout's already been expended, and they really didn't like how that last round looked, even though the result ended in a round win. And it's really all due to the facts that you talked about, Carter. So we really don't even have to touch on that all that too much. But now for BC, they've lost quite a few drones off rip already. 5 off the board, but the beauty of the scenario for them is that they do have a lot of info ops at the end of the day. You still got the Grim, you still got the Deimos, so they'll be able to process the map probably still the same. Except if they have Gavini die like that. Then things could get complicated, but in what world would that happen? That's the real question.
And the B's going down so early on, so key for going for that CEO plan. I mean, obviously you have the fire bolts and the smoke bolts to root defenders out of positions, cut off angles, but the Bees are so good for controlling that swing around CEO. And there's still the utility you have to burn as well. Like, you have to extract these smoke canisters from Nate. He's got to use all 3. There's these yokais you have to worry about as well. Hot and Cold goes for the rappel in. Surely we see the response from the smoke canisters from NJR. Nope, it's actually nothing. It's the yokai. There we go. Very nice play. EMP'd by diffuser, as Sam just said, but the yokai still stuns him. Lets Nath get into position, and now Hot and Cold rotated out. Obviously, good play by Beast Coast with that EMP, but there's still so much utility aimed towards this position. Spirits will go down below with the shotgun from Deimos to try to, again, control this swing with the absence of the Grim. You can't find the intel if somebody takes that gunfight. More utility extracted. Another attempt likely on this CEO rappel, Sam. Once it comes out, Hot and Cold falls off. Gonna hop back out. This is just the game we're gonna play.
Still got some smokes. And really, this is it. I mean, the drones, everything else has already been expended. You have to try and go for this situation. Nitro Cell will go out. It's going to take down Hot and Cold. And if you didn't think they were dedicated before, well, boy, howdy, do I have a story for you. The case is now down inside of the site, and they have to try and find a way back into this round. Spirits is going to be the start of it. Work his way over towards yellow, but Darkzero, they have so many guns at every single entry point of this top floor should be signed, sealed. Diffuser, can you deliver? Canadian knows, and he'll stop him, so clearly the comms will be executed. He's going to be able to stop it yet again here. Spirits is down downstairs. Diffuser should be dead to rights here on a moment's notice to swing through, and yes, indeed, Pampa makes it across. Gunner just simply not take him down. This might actually be a flawless round here, but as soon as I say that, Dave's going to donate himself, and that will now be the round of round 5. Okay, you know what? Can we just pump the brakes? Can we just pump them for a split second? Oh my. Darkzero, nevertheless, I'm going to pick that one up.
And another string of, I mean, there I will say, the attacks weren't poor from Beast Coast, but it's another string of losses so far on the attacking side, especially after that momentum play from Gavini to win the split side back for Beast Coast. Here, the big story is losing Gavini so early on. And I say that, the Bees could have helped. It would have been nice. Maybe Spirits is able to push up yellow, find some positions, you know, hit the backstab while everyone's trying to go for the util burn, but we earn the 4v5, and Beast Coast dedicate themselves to the CEO plant. There's a C4, smoke canisters, yokais, and 5 players all looking towards that position. And Beast Coast aren't able to rotate, aren't able to change positions, continue banging their head against the wall in the face of an overwhelming Darkzero counter of the very plan they've dedicated themselves to. That round should have gone Darkzero's way 10 times out of 10. They anticipated what Beast Coast would do. Beast Coast did it. The plan worked flawlessly, and Darkzero, who were flawless on their defenses against OXG on this map, might have dropped 1 round, but in a very good position to get 1 round beneath that.
I'm just really excited for all of the edits that are like a flashback of what Gunner said during his little interview. And just be like, yeah, Darkzero is probably going to fix all of this stuff for the playoffs, so we're really going to have to consider how we go about this. And it's just both the score lines as things fall apart. But hey, I start talking, Gunner starts playing. Nafe goes down, and this is a perfect opener for Beast Coast. Clean cut, and no sauce back from DZ.
It's exactly what you want for Beast Coast right now, an uncontested 5v4. You've lacked so many advantages in terms of control, in terms of, well, anything. I mean, even when you got the opening pick back in round 2, weren't able to convert it into a victory. Gunner with a second, Pambazoo maybe a third. Frag grenade goes out, he's forced to rotate out, but Spirit's caught lacking. Pambazoo now in the wind as he hops down the yellow stairs. One player moving to the window, I believe. Try to cut off Pambazoo's rotation back to sight. That attacker outside, a little out of position right now. Beast Coast drone economy, again, worse for wear, though. 3 drones remaining. If they want to find this Legion, odds are it will have to be from one of these exterior angles. It's actually finding intel on the site. Seems very unlikely. Headshot goes the way of Diffuser. Trade goes the way of Beast Coast, though. Advantage still solid, though much smaller than it was before.
Well, I guess the good news is that Izzy's at least traded out to the 2 versus 3, make it a 2 versus 2. As Bolo springs like a trap from the top of Spiral. They'll catch one inside a front desk. Now Beast Coast, a 1-5 half could await them if they cannot figure this out. Hot and cold, he's still actively in the round. He's going to be trusting a lot of the calls that we'll be hearing from these BC members. Spirits especially more than likely doing a lot of this work. He's had a lot of time in the IGL seat himself, just trying to assist in getting these good comms out here. East Coast do have solid positioning on this mid floor though. Although I do not see Darkzero giving them a lot of angles to exploit unless something drastically changes with this case positioning.
I don't see it either, despite most of the floor being opened up. The moment Hot and Cold even enters the site, he's domed by Bolo. Vini again in the position where he's got to bring around back from the brink of oblivion. 25 seconds remaining. Not even intel gathering or utility capabilities. Got to recover the diffuser, maybe try to bait out the plant or go for the kills. Banshees will track his path as he goes to recover the diffuser. Now behind the yellow position, he will force the swing out from Bolo and NJR. Moving up the hallway, he'll get the diffuser down successfully as the impact grenade goes out and misses Gavini. So full HP as he moves into these fights. Spots the head of one, takes the gunfight with another, but indecisive on the angle. Splits the difference and ends up exposing himself to both angles. 5-1 half for DZ.
And it's been just going so very right for Darkzero. Even on these rounds where the initial pick goes the way of BC, they're able to set up basically a house of mirrors inside this map. BC have not been capable of setting themselves up for success. In fact, the very round that they got, the only one under their belt, came from just a knee-jerk, just high-octane play coming out of Gavini as he flies through tellers and walks down the stairs. That's really it. Past that, Darkzero have been running roughshod over every single one of these rounds. And BZ, even past a timeout, have not been capable of doing anything to Darkzero on their map choice.
The Monty also not doing nearly as much as it did in some of Beast Coast's latter games inside of the NAL, despite it being entirely available to them. Not to say they were entirely reliant on it, but it was a huge component of their success, and now they have to go to the defensive side, which, to be fair, a lot of the work was paid attention to that side when Beast Coast were going through that identity crisis, and just coming out of it was tightening up these positions. Gunner, Hot and Cold swapping roles, figuring out exactly what diffuser needed to play on attack and defense. Spirits kind of just running around the first couple play days and then actually getting a solid role in what the defense was going to do. Beast Coast, this was their weaker side. They started making strides on it. On Consulate, this tends to be the easier side as well, if you can command control of these hallways and the map, similar to what Darkzero did. Will Beast Coast be as successful? If they fail in even once, Darkzero on match point.
That's the biggest thing, man. We had a cafe like this earlier on today between myself and Nick. And yeah, you can make a little bit of a run when it comes to Beast Coast position here, but as soon as something goes wrong, the pressure is seriously on. As Darkzero will be so very close to sending us to map 2 already. Quickly feel like a blink of an eye to BC. They are now making Consulate a home, setting things up inside of the map. Deployable shields, nitro cells abound as well. 2 rotations to boot, but I think this one might be coming on pretty quickly.
Canadian immediately hops down the yellow skylight. One player right around the corner with the shotgun. 3 roamers on this top floor site, but Vulcan Pack detonated. Canadian standing in it a little too long, perhaps losing quite a lot of HP. Thankfully got those adrenal surges to pick him back up just a little bit. So this clear of the top floor will be stalled for the time being. This is a very nice position by Pambazoo, bottom yellow. Holding this position with the shotgun can be so powerful, whether you're on the attack or the defense. Most importantly, he's just making sure Canadian cannot be flanked from behind. Spirit's trying to get aggressive on this position, worried about the bathroom window, worried about the yellow stairs. Another set of Bs goes out to make it more difficult to play in CEO. Likely going to drop down the hatch momentarily based on the amount of pressure he's facing. But now he'll back off. There's now 4 defenders all on this top floor.
Oh.
C4 goes out, nukes Panbazoo inside a connector. Canadian very low HP, just 1 bullet away from death. Easy finisher for Spirits. Easy round 7 for Beast Coast, it seems, as Nafe on the opposite side of the map from the clear now has to rappel into a really difficult situation. Flawless round from Beast Coast to start. Momentum regained? Perhaps. We'll just have to tell. Likely need another round. The verdict's still out.
Well, they definitely did their research when it came to their defenses, didn't they? That was cataclysmic for Darkzero. I mean, they practically implode as soon as the guns start to be hot for BC. That's what we expect out of them. They've had a great stage thus far, and a lot of it looking like that. But, I mean, still a really long road to go for them. And a lot of the success found in that round based on the fact that they were able to get ahead of Darkzero's play over on, yellow. Able to really elongate things, too. I mean, things were not coming easy to hot and cold at all.
Nothing was really coming easy to Beast Coast on a lot of those attacks. And even then, in that round we just saw from Darkzero, they're trying to acquire that control. They're constantly pressuring Beast Coast. The defenders made uncomfortable, but ultimately, once they get that first pick, they realize the support for the Monty's gone. They're able to power him, take it down, and win a very, very strong defense. Ironically, we are now going up to the second floor. Almost the entirety of the round, if not the entirety of the round, taking place in the second floor. Last time, do have some similar players, but a bit, or at least some important new faces. Clash and Tachanka making their way into the defensive lineup for round 8.
Most definitely. Here for BC now. They keep the run game active and alive. A few more site-dedicated players, though, than the last time we saw, at least when it comes to the off lineup. You got the Clash.
Oh,
Panba. Cold gets donated to Pambazoo as soon as he rotates out, and that's just one of those angles that you quickly get access to in a proper scenario. Throw things out over the teller's side and an easy path.
A really nice gap found by Pambazoo, and with the Clash gone, I mean, the benefit of that for hot and cold is he can rotate over to yellow, over to admin. And because it's so difficult to deal with players from outside the building, a lot of the times the entry is just staring at a shield for a lot of the round. A lot of the attacking lineups we see, the meta lineups we see, also don't include a lot of counters for her. Not a lot of Kali, not a lot of Zofia. Maybe you have the Firebolts, but a lot of the times you want to save those for the execute. So with that Clash gone, a lot less utility sync from Darkzero. A huge obstacle, no longer a factor. And that doesn't even start on the fact it's a 5v4. Nice impact from Gavini. I am astounded that hasn't destroyed the deployable shield as well. But it's detonated the Rotero drone, and now this checker's position without that Clash becomes a whole lot more important, yet a whole lot weaker.
BC still have the capability to close this out. It's just really how they try and adapt to that scenario now. Love that they have this checkers position built up because of the situation that has now befallen them, right? They lose hot and cold. They're going to want to try and hold on to some of these better power positions around the map. And this is definitely one that we've seen exploited time and time again when it comes to this top floor bomb site. AFA is going to continue to try and find some areas to strip away when it comes to these Rotero drones. Under the nice little flank, but not even necessary. Diffuser runs through the fire, takes out one, finds another, and now it's Darkzero with 3 kills in a row. It's Gav in behind his shield. He'll make it out through the track stingers. There's one off to his right-hand side, too. These bees right inside Grasp as well. Don't know if he knows about this player right to his left. You can see he's aiming for this far angle instead, so more than likely has no idea about the gridlock here of Bolo. Drone through, and he should be dead to rights, but no, he slips through the cracks. And JR, can you get the fight instead? Gav, the collective against DZ, it's building. He works his way back, he kills his replacement, and he gets at JR! BC with another defensive round, but Gavini, a highlight reel and a feather in his cap.
Another round brought over the line by Gavini and his efforts alone. Another round that Beast Coast probably shouldn't win. Clash dropped so early on. Nice play by Pambazoo to take aggressive control Visa. See if he can just catch a pick on somebody rotating and then back off. The plan goes beautifully, and he probably gets more than he even needed cutting down the Clash. So Darkzero back off. They go about their clear normally. On the admin side, I admire the flank and the push from Diffuser and Gunner. They're able to get a lot of picks, get aggressive when Darkzero aren't expecting, ramp up the tempo, and they succeed extremely well. It just so happens Darkzero win a lot of the 1v1s provided to them in turn, so while Gunner and Diffuser get aggressive, and it looks very nice, Darkzero still able to win enough of the engagements to get the 3v1, but really right there, obviously you have the initial kill onto the first player pushing in from Darkzero. But the gridlock Bolo not being able to react off of that drone walking in front of Gavini to allow him to rotate into projector, then isolate that 1v1 with the guy coming in from the breach, that's the ultimate situation where it swung from likely around that Darkzero could win, but maybe a chance for Gavini to, he can actually win this, and it's very likely.
Yeah, and the craziest thing there is that usually in those scenarios, that's where you see DZ find the most success, right? It's where it comes down to those team play moments where they're able to synergize and find good moments to get these kills. Like we see out of that drone there, that could have provided the exact situation necessary, but instead, you see how that goes down, and yet another one already going to arrive for Darkzero as round 9 has not started off well either. Pambizu down for the count, and 7 and 8 on top of that. We saw just how well he was playing up against LG earlier, but a lot more gaps when it comes to that. BC looking for everything when it comes to the exterior of the building. NJR will gun him down for his antics, but still just a 4 versus 4.
Still a 4v4, and trading out the Hibana for the Valkyrie, even if the Valkyrie wasn't really involved in that initial engagement, still a perfectly fine trade if you're Beast Coast. More so you're trading Gavini for the Hibana, and that might make it a bit more even considering the strength Gavini's had so far. As you saw, by the way, default cam was left up by Darkzero, but yet there was a drone inside of Visa, so intel on both positions. It's just Darkzero that come out on top. So 4v4 going into the second half of the round. Darkzero looking to acquire this all-important vertical control to assault the first floor site down in Exposition and Piano. Seems to be going pretty well so far. There is still some players in the top floor, but admin is certainly in the attack's control.
The only thing I'm not liking is our timing here on this clear. Things are not building up properly when it comes to clock management. This could start to get a little risky. I think that's why you're seeing Nafe do a head count right now on the side with this bomb, or this bomb, my goodness, this drone. It's been a little bit of a long day, but yeah, just trying to see exactly what they can go for. He's going to add this little rotate here for Secret. We do have a player here from BC, though, so probably not going to get too far. And Nafe? What has happened? Did the Nitro Cell catch him? I think it did. Do we have one tossed from hot and cold there?
I mean, surely that's what happened. C4 goes out or
something. Out the window through that verticality they have underneath this. That's what happened there. Okay, yeah. Now it's making sense.
The pieces starting to line up. Not so much for Darkzero, though. They're able to get Nafe back up, but on very low HP and with no real actual entrance onto the site, Beast Coast seem to be in control if they can just contain the inevitable flood from Darkzero. Bolo starts it off in their favor. Hot and cold, the one to fall. Gunner now rotating down to try to catch it. Ram found out. Bolo not looking. Canadian on the diffuser, but still a 2v2. Gunner got to back off only 10 seconds, but it can swing in the blink of an eye if they're not careful. NJR's got to cover. Intel on one player swinging, but Spirits from below cuts him down. Nothing NJR can do, an impactless frag. Beast Coast comeback continues. 3 rounds in a row on the defense.
I mean, is that not just nuts? BC have the perfect verticality for every situation. We see a Nitro Cell flinged out of a window that takes out our Maverick. Just for a split second. He gets res, but very low HP past that. And then we have more verticality built up inside of sight to stop this regress on the case. So well done here from BC, and again, a lot of effort, a lot of love clearly put into these defenses, and they're doing a bang-up job so far on this half. 3 clean-cut defensive rounds. They're going to force the timeout out of Darkzero.
Once you drop those 3 attacks in a row, I mean, you're starting to struggle. It makes perfect sense. I mean, you've had all sorts of round losses at this point. I mean, you've got the initial, you've got the 1v3 in the second attacking round that you end up losing. That could be a bit of a chalker, but you still got one more round after that. Then, of course, going back to the Exposition site, you have a good idea for what you want to do, but you aren't able to actually either push back the roam or contain the aggression and cut them off when they try to get aggressive. So Beast Coast able to steamroll over you round 1. And then round 9 was honestly just kind of like a normal Darkzero loss. A lot of time spent, not able to accomplish a whole lot. They don't have any real pressure on the very bottom floor in the basement. They have vertical and admin, but there's still players on the top floor that can retake. It was just kind of a characteristic Darkzero loss, unfortunately, and after the tactical timeout, they still have the lead, and they still have 1 round to potentially give away to try and implement some of these fixes.
A more feast or famine-ish round that's mostly revolved around putting the case down. Looks like Darkzero to me. Smells like Darkzero to me. A lot of things that lean towards that way. Probably something that is going to be a telltale sign of how they go about things when it comes to this bomb site as well. Darkzero probably going to be objective focused on how they want to go about this, but that does beg the question, how do they clear things out on this top floor? And not only that, but without an IQ, what do you do about Gunner on this Solus?
Ideally, I mean, maybe you just try, you can find some drones or...
Maybe he just kills himself right here. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
I was about to say, if there's anything about Gunner, he sometimes can overheat a little bit and make plays he shouldn't. At least on the Visa double door, we'll see if he decides to run out. I don't think anybody is actually on that side anymore with Nath getting off the projector balcony repel, so should be fine. Oh, that's just a nice frost mat right there. Gav anticipating somebody to maybe Selma charge that breach, and there is a frost mat right on the opposite side. There is no world where that gets cleared. I am almost sure of it.
A fan favorite that we see on some rotations as well on certain maps. Something a little cheeky. Something you can also add into your gameplay too on Frost. She gets played pretty often nowadays since she's got that soft destruction secondary deployable shield on top of an ACOG for the 9mm. I mean, it's a great operator all around, especially on maps like Consulate where there's a lot of window play involved. I'm just
when I was gonna say, I mean, with that ACOG too, I mean, not only can you take long angle fights on the top floor, you can see this vertical angle being held by Gavini. That obviously Spirit's also retaking a bit, but combined with the solos who can get aggressive in the face of Darkzero, this Beast Coast defense can do quite a lot. Spirit's actually going for the retake of the top floor, but a bit lacking in intel. Pamazoo finds one, but Gavini, hot and cold, able to pick up the next two. So advantage actually going the way of Beast Coast, though Gavini found out on the connector window, but an immediate trade. Pamazoo cut down by Diffuser, so the advantage still lacking for Darkzero. Diffuser with one more. Canadian can't even react to 3K from the rookie. Beast Coast 4 in a row on the defense, and we're at a tie game.
Wow, oh wow. Both of these teams having a great understanding of what makes things complicated for the offense on Consulate. If you have the capabilities of holding solid map control or just being able to set up good verticality with potentially a roamer to boot, just running amok of things, this map is just, it's so for you. It is so for you and your team, you know? Like, it works very handedly for squads that are able to pull this off. And BC is clearly one of these teams. This is something that they've had cooking in the background for a while, you know? I do believe this is the map inside this pool that they took a loss on earlier in the stage, you know? So this is something that they've obviously had to put a little bit of time into and find a new look on. And it's working real well. Although, obviously, Darkzero have had a few limitations, I'd say, throughout this stage. This game has been pretty interesting to watch.
I mean, incredibly defender-sided as well. Neither team really finding great time on the attacks. It's been a game of course, you know, good reads by the defense and how to counter them, but also mistakes from the attack, you know, stalling out, not clearing what they should. The teams have certainly been unique in the failings they've had on the attacking side, but there have been failings on both sides. That much is to be sure. One thing in particular that Beast Coast were not big fans of that happened on this previous attempt at the top floor, the Clash dying in about 0.5 seconds on top Visa. And considering we're now 20 seconds in, Hot and Cold already beating his record.
He's doing great. Love that.
Full HP, not complaining.
If only had a new PR, you know? Always a good day when that happens. Darkzero, not nearly as aggressive as they were previously. Gunner, though, with a wild position over here towards double. Probably just wondering if somebody's going to try and repel on this window that NJR is actually staring at right now. I don't think he's going to have much influence over NJR's current repel position, but crazier things have happened. So we'll have to see how this all works out. Hot and Cold, a little aggressive, but now I'm getting antsy as soon as he puts that SMG in his hands.
And this is what the Clash can really provide to the CEO defense. He can go contest the breach. He can go contest top Visa or admin or yellow or literally any position. And it's so difficult to deal with him because of how linear this map is. Just the loss of that Clash did so much for Darkzero in that round, and if Gavini doesn't clutch that 1v3, it's probably match point. And now when they have to face the actual setup, the actual full breadth of what Beast Coast are going for, it's far more difficult. They only are just now starting to get admin control, and there's still plenty of utility and plenty of players to deal with this.
This is going to be such an issue. I mean, yeah, you can get rid of the Goyo canisters, and you'll more than likely have to wait on them, especially because of these positionings. But the big issue is now is you have Spirits and Hot and Cold both lined up to delay you out. They're going to starve Darkzero as much as they can. It's really down to DZ to try and get something here. Try and get their foot on the gas, get their foot on somebody's neck. It might be Spirits as he's dipping and dashing. It's going to be BC that light up the kill feed first too. Pamazoo, he can't find anything. He's grasping at straws, and the round's practically over before he can finally get the first kill on the board. Nafe, he'll rotate back over to the single. Does have some things to worry about downrange, but Gunner with a double and Diffuser with a find. BC are in control of their own map pick and their own destiny on Consulate.
A match point now for Beast Coast. 5 defenses in a row. And unfortunately for Darkzero, all more and more convincing as the half goes on. Once the clash is there, they're able to get full intel on Darkzero's push. Nothing going their way. I like the play from Pamazoo, by the way, to try to hop down yellow. Try and find a gap while everyone is so focused on the admin side. I think that's the right play. But 2 problematic things happen. 1, misses some shots. Well, technically 3 problematic things happen. The first being that everyone on the admin side died. But aside from that point of Beast Coast able to win their fights, Pamazoo misses some shots to try to bring that man advantage back. But also, Diffuser was dropped bottom yellow. So if that play doesn't work out and you still have the players on admin succeed in their fights, Darkzero's win condition of getting that plant down is significantly more difficult. It didn't end up necessarily becoming a factor because Beast Coast won all the fights on admin side anyway, but it still goes to show that while Darkzero are making the correct moves, the shots aren't hitting. There's also some flaws in the plan, with Diffuser being isolated bottom yellow once Pamazoo's play doesn't go out, and Beast Coast are just plain showing up at these gunfights now because it was a big Gavini show earlier, and guess what? Now Diffuser, now Gavin, and Gunner all tied at 11 kills. This defensive side maybe isn't always a team game, but it's certainly a lot more even across the board than those attacks were.
And the ability of Beast Coast on full display on these defensive sides. You highlighted these 3 players, and it's definitely been them that have been hot to trot ever since we got here. Being able to finally shut up Darkzero. That's really been what it was. Darkzero just having way too much to say when it came to their defenses. And it made you worry just a little bit. We talk a lot about when you do make a choice in a map, you're usually worried about the harder side when it comes to things. And defense on Consulate is not all that bad. You usually consider how things are going to go for your offenses. So definitely a worrisome sign when you see a 1-5, but East Coast, they're on a perfect tear right now. 5 rounds of their own. Not 1 drop just yet. Darkzero hoping that they can match the fate of BC and seeing if they can finally get 1 under their belt before BC move us on to Clubhouse with a perfect defensive side.
Gavini wrapping around immediately finds Nafe. Just good night. Bye-bye. Out of the round. Unceremoniously dealt with by Beast Coast. And they just rotate back. Nothing else to do. I mean, you've got the 5v4. You've wasted 1 minute 20 seconds. Darkzero opening up vertical holes in admin, as it is a split defense from Beast Coast. But once you get that kill, maybe Nafe isn't doing a whole lot on the hard breaching, but Darkzero likely going to take the next 45 to 50 seconds to get this control, Sam. There's nothing else they really need to do.
And that's the thing. When you have DZ in a situation like this and you get this first pick, just dash, just run, get back to site, force them to use this full timer, because that's what they're going to do. They're forced to try and find something, and as soon as I start lining this up for DZ to take their time like we usually see, it's anything but. Canadian's going to drop down the back hatch. I think he's recognized what's going on. Darkzero have to try and make this a murky round, and so far, not so good. It's down to Pamazoo in a 1 versus 3, and he hasn't gotten too much done when it's came to this offensive side. A lot of this heavy lifting coming on their defenses, but you could say the same about BC. It's just been more successful. A Goon Mine down, Pamazoo, they know exactly where this man is. He's going to dip and dash and somehow find his way to the pillar position. No case in his hands, though. Should be just, going to be pleasantries. And BC with a great round, and not only a great round, but a great half here on Consulate.
6 rounds in a row on the defense. Not a lot to complain about with your Beast Coast. Of course, the attacks were not exactly excellent. There were a lot of problems, a lot of very bad fundamental problems from Beast Coast, especially those missed drones. But you got the map. You're 1-0 now, and you got the defenses 6 in a row, and those looked quite nice. The team play was there. The strategy was there. That was good for Beast Coast, Sam. We can all agree on that.
Yeah, 100%. And the main thing before we send y'all to a quick break is that DZ just could not find any footing on this map at all. And whenever it came to blows with BC, not only would BC win it, but Darkzero would just grind to a halt. All except for that last round where we kind of just see him throw it at the wall and hope that it sticks, but clearly not the case, unfortunately enough for them.
No, unfortunately not. Beast Coast now up 1-0 in the series. Will Darkzero mount the comeback? It was a 2-1 when these two faced here last year. And we'll just have to see with Beast Coast at the upper hand if they can maybe change the fate of what's happened before. That's it for Sam and I right now. We have the desk right after this before map 2 after that.
So, you don't have to win consulate attacks. I mean, well, you have to win at least one, probably somewhere in the middle of that. But I guess technically you could win an entire consulate game without winning a single attack, and we would still be watching Darkzero struggle as hard as they possibly could to win a single attack. That seems to have been their Achilles heel. It was in this case. Beast Coast win their own map pick off the back of a perfect defensive half from Beast Coast, 6 rounds straight to get their own map pick.
I felt like I was at SI again. It was watching one team get the one round on attack, and they switch to defense and then win 6 outright and close out the game.
I mean, we've seen multiple major matches which do go 6-0 defensive halves back-to-back. I think FaZe SSG was 2 6-0 defensive half in Atlanta, and I don't know, there was a couple of times where we've seen it. It is the most defender-sided map in the pool. Not a huge surprise that Darkzero got this huge lead. They were saying it in the cast too, though. Like, a lot of mistakes happening, certainly for Beast Coast on these attacks that made them a lot harder than they could have been, that they should have been. A lot of early deaths that maybe they didn't need to. A lot of missed drones where they didn't have the intel on players that they probably could have had intel on. Beast Coast didn't make it easy on themselves, but end of the day, they got that one attack. That's all they needed. They closed it out in regulation.
I mean, if I'm gonna be completely honest too, I thought DZ looked better on the defensive half. Sure, they did get the one, Beast Coast did get the one attack, but how well they structured themselves around the map and how they were playing off each other, DZ looked phenomenally better on the defensive half. Beast Coast was winning off pure like clutch plays. I mean, Vinny specifically had that huge 1v3 that he brought back. They easily could have been a huge out change for this game.
Yeah, Gavin kind of powered up. He heard me say that they dropped him for Bolo, and he said absolutely not. And he had a great game today. A lot of people on Beast Coast did, though. I mean, Diffuser played well. We saw some really big plays coming through from a couple different members on that team. So, I mean, that's really what it takes at the highest level when you're playing for a major spot. You need individuals to pop off, and undoubtedly more people on Beast Coast did that than Darkzero.
Oh, without a doubt. And again, it came down to the defensive halves. I mean, I personally like to see, you know, the attacks be a little more methodical, but again, Consulate is a pretty defender-heavy map, so it's not a huge surprise. I just hope going then into the next game that we are going to see a little more on attack, specifically from Darkzero, because we said their attacks have been poor.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked a bit about the tools the attackers have. Obviously, Ying banned out by Beast Coast. That's historically been a favorite of Darkzero, a favorite of Pambazoo. They ran a lot of like Monty to try to not do the same thing as a Ying, but to try to give them that advantage on attack, which can be very difficult to get. I thought that Beast Coast did an excellent job stalling the Monty out with things like Goyo canisters, but also just rushing them down, making sure that he couldn't get much value out of it. In the same way that Darkzero did on their defenses, but I think Beast Coast were doing that a little bit more, particularly when it came to the stall factor.
Dead even on entry, and there were plenty of opportunities for both teams, despite having the opening kill, to steamroll around, and it didn't quite go in that direction. The one time we see Beast Coast win an attack in that first half ends up being the whole reason that this game swings the way it does and doesn't go to overtime on the back of 2 6-6 halves just right off the rip. But if DZ played a really good team game, it kind of doesn't matter if the way Beast Coast were winning rounds was off of crazy hero plays.
100%, Jacob. We saw a lot of those. And it might be surprising to you, after seeing that first half, how many rounds Beast Coast just clutched up with pure mechanical skill. But it's not surprising to me, because I know that Beast Coast are the most clutch team in all of North America. They've clutched before this game 12 separate 1vx's. The median 1vx number for teams was 6. coming into this play day.
Jeez.
So most teams, your average squad was averaging about half of the 1vx's.
This was personal.
Than we saw from Beast Coast coming into this series, and they continued that energy. Not all of the clips I'm showing you right now are technical 1vx's, but they're all big clutch hero moments where somebody steps up and goes huge for Beast Coast. It's ridiculous the amount of players they can do that can step up and do that for the team.
And I was talking about Diffuser going into this game. Again, here he is performing, putting up this huge performance throughout the regular stage and now doing it here in the playoffs to secure this spot for Manchester. And then obviously you have Gavini, and like I said, this was a personal game for him. We even saw in that clip. He went, he went down low. He pressed that crouch button a few times after he clutched that, which was deserved. Obviously Gunnar again. But again, this is off the forefront of Matt. I don't want to leave Matt out of this. Matt has been such an integral piece because they said they were now listening to him and they're now finding the success. And now they went to an 8th map and found success on that map.
Ridiculous, the map pool, and I'm glad you brought it up too. We talked about it in the pregame. The fact that they picked Consulate, I thought maybe they'd leave it up and let
I was shaking
Darkzero
in my
pick
boots
it.
when it went to 1-5.
Because Darkzero enjoyed this map quite a bit as well, but Beast Coast pick it themselves, only get one attacking round, and they stay confident, they stay sure of themselves, and they come back for the 7-5.
And you look at these numbers, I mean, yes, this was a close game, but there is not one player here that, in my opinion, didn't show up, that didn't put in the work. Sure, Spirits is at the bottom if you really do want to call someone out. But this, all in all, was a team effort, and it really came down to just winning one single attack round that set that difference maker when they swap sides.
So for this team now, they have to go into club. Remember last time they played club? It was when they kind of weren't really like themselves quite yet, for lack of a better term. The eloquent Gabriel Mireles telling it like it is. But the last time they played it, they weren't on their A game. They very clearly seem as though they're at that point now. But Darkzero on Clubhouse is also its own beast that they're going to have to fend off. What do we think about map 2? Just general thoughts.
I like it. I like that, again, Beast Coast picked their attack. Sure, they got the one round that they needed. It was important in Consulate, but I feel they will find a lot more success going on this attack half in Clubhouse because it does kind of just depends how you play the map again. It's a very basic map. You just follow the regular fundamentals. It really comes down to very crucial gunfights. That's going to determine those power positions. That's going to determine taking those spots. So really, again, it's going to come down to those gunfights, the initial early gunfights that's going to really secure a round or secure the gameplay.
Clubhouse can be a very execute-focused map where you're executing down into the basement, you're executing into gym. Oftentimes, you've got a lot of people alive in that late round, and I think that's where Darkzero can really start to shine. When Darkzero have a plan, they feel really good. Even when they have low time, they're very consistent at putting together a good plan. We heard, I believe it was Gunnar, talk about that in the interview. That's one of Darkzero's biggest strengths. That's a key factor of Clubhouse, where we often see very low time but high man count executes. That is where Darkzero thrives. So if we can see them going through a lot of those, I imagine they're actually starting on defense, I'm remembering now. So when we get to that second half for Darkzero, that's going to be key for me if they want to pull this back and win on border.
And I like that you talk about that. This map is more condensed than Consulate is in terms of entry points. So the team in defense specifically are going to be playing a lot tighter. They are going to be able to play off of each other. They are going to be able to rotate a lot faster together than maybe what we were seeing on Consulate. So there's definitely going to be success coming from DZ, coming from this defensive half.
Last time Darkzero played club, it was an 8-6 affair against Los of all teams. The one time we really saw Los give us a bit of an early stage scare. And again, when Beast Coast played it, it was as a much different team. So Beast Coast will be able to look at the way Darkzero play and probably get a more accurate picture of how they play club than Darkzero will be able to do against Beast Coast, unless Beast Coast just don't change anything from the last time they played it back in, what, week 2?
Yeah, and that's the biggest advantage, realistically, is when they were showing their display on here, it wasn't really the Beast Coast that we see now.
Yeah.
So for DZ, I know they're still going to do the prep and do what they need to do, but in terms of looking at that bot, it's not really going to be truly accurate to how they're playing now.
But I would argue that's for both teams. I mean, Darkzero, when they were losing the Lows, weren't exactly the same team they are now either. They really did have a renaissance that final week of play in the NAL, and now so far through the playoffs that seemingly has continued. So I feel like both Darkzero and Beast Coast have changed a lot, have really put their nose to the grindstone and improved since the last time they played club. So I kind of want to throw those previous results out. Yeah, they almost lost to Los, but they didn't. They're here now, and it's a new day.
Well, Darkzero have defense first on their own map pick in what's been a pretty defensive-sided series already so far. They're banking on club being their saving grace and getting a third map on the board. Otherwise, Beast Coast will be going to their first major in organization history. Sam Stewart and Carter Hannafeld may just have the honor of casting that moment.
Not just that, actually. I mean, you are correct. Everything you just said is 100% correct. But also, I think something more importantly, breaking the hegemony the kind of traditional top 4 have had on NA. all events, Darkzero, SSG, M80, SQ. Not only if Beast Coast qualify, but with Sonics already in the LCQ, Darkzero, OXG fighting for a spot tomorrow, SSG in the LCQ, Beast Coast taking a spot there means those 4 teams that had a stranglehold over international events last year, a couple of them will be missing where they should have been, or well, where they have been before.
Yeah, our international events just, over the entirety of this region for what feels like eons at this, point in time, right? These 4 organizations have been representing North America for forever. So this is something that is definitely going to be a big change for quite a few people, especially if BC take this in 2-0 fashion. That would be something quite prolific at that moment in time. But we'll have to see. It can only come with time, and as we delve deeper into this night, I'm sure the answer will come along too. Dokkaebi and Ying are going to be our offensive bands here on Clubhouse. Pretty traditional when it comes down to it. You can say the same for Fenrir, things already close quarters, so provide a blinding mechanism and things get all the more difficult for the offense.
Both teams just repeating the same band phase that we saw in Consulate. Darkzero obviously repeating the same band phase they've repeated an innumerable amount of times leading up to this matchup. But the real question is how these teams are going to change up their play, because as the desk pointed out, when we last saw these teams on Clubhouse, they were shadows of the teams they are now. I would say maybe more so for Beast Coast just because of how dramatically different they look compared to back then. With Darkzero, we still see a lot of similar issues, but the positives are just more at the forefront. It's more the Darkzero we knew, flaws and all. Beast Coast, it's just an entirely different team, Sam. It's just not even like remotely comparable.
Yeah, Beast Coast, best coast. That's what we say nowadays, right? Like they're just a completely different team. Like I said at the very beginning of this series, they walk along to a different beat, to a different drum, and they found a way to make it to where this team clicks on a higher level. And at the very center of that is Hot and Cold. He's provided a new level of synergy to Beast Coast, and it's very, very just emblematic of what their future could potentially hold for them. Especially a map like what we just saw, a map like Consulate. That is a true pressure test right there, Carter. They go down 1-5. They go over to the defensive side, which clearly they had so much put into that, so many well-thought ideas on how that could potentially go, and it goes off practically flawlessly, given all the circumstances, right? Maybe a clutch here, maybe a clutch there, but for Beast Coast, we'll call it perfect. And that's quite impressive, especially up against a team like DZ. There's so many talented players on this roster, and the key thing being something that you mentioned as well as the desk being, DZ does not miss LAN events. It's something that just never happens. And right now, there's a possibility that's starting to build with BC sitting at the helm of that.
Yeah, Beast Coast, a lot of trends can be broken with a victory either here or on board, or the advantage, of course, they have now by taking Consulate. Now moving up 1-0, just one more map win on either of these maps can send them to Manchester, a first in the organization's history in Rainbow Six. Something I'm sure this roster would be more than enthused to have associated with their names. But to start, minute in, Canadian inside a kitchen, hops out the window, will make a lot of noise with that mute. Will even force, I think, the panic flashbang out from the player outside. But with the kitchen hatch soft, he will rotate back, not accomplishing much. He's lost the C4, he's not got a kill, and he's opened kitchen hatch for the attack. So a gamble not entirely paying off for Darkzero.
He's trying to get groovy like these young guns, man, and it just doesn't work out the same way, does it? BC slipping through the cracks, or at least slipping away from Canadian's presence. He hops out that window, and now BC have full control over the mid-floor area. Amira in this space too that could potentially play back onto Diffuser, but it's not the angle, it's the Nitro Cell from Bo. A gas canister or Hell Hot and Cold for a while. Darkzero have set themselves up for success in this basement defense.
We've also seen that Beast Coast are going for one of their Monty executes. Troy's also seen that the positions inside of Dirt, Gunner, trying to push down the main stairs has not accounted for Bolo re-aggressing on that angle. But that's the risk you take with the vertical angles opened up. Spirits can get the trade as Bolo walks back down. But even though you don't get a kill, putting Gunnar to 1 HP and losing the Valkyrie, whose C4 is already used and utility already down, I still think that goes to favor Darkzero. Gunnar just now 1 shot away from death. 1 gun to support the Monty, a little weaker alongside the Monty himself, now below half HP. Beast Coast as a whole struggling to find a way in, but Gavini, the man of the hour, the hero Beast Coast need, finding a way in. Pamazoo reveals his position, flicks down onto Gunnar as so little work needs to be done. Double headshots, double kills for Pamazoo, hot and cold in the 1v2. We'll see the player back off, crack the mirror window to hide his escape. Default camera beaming useless intel because Canadian knows what he has to do. 1 pump, hit the prone, round 1 for Darkzero.
Utter calamity inside of that round, but Darkzero comes out on the other side, not only ahead, but alive. Probably a round that feels very good after what just happened on Consulate, at least starting off successful on this basement defense, and honestly had some pretty good ideas. I like how they played things up to the limit around the stairwells, as well as, you know, things like dirt, just to make sure to stay in the face of BC, not let them get too comfortable with their positioning on that mid floor.
BC also still very static in the wake of Darkzero defenses and pressure. They see the Vulcans and dirt. Hot and Cold says, okay, I'll shoot them. We'll still try to go for the dirt push. But the more important thing is when Darkzero start trying to get aggressive on the kitchen position, attacking main stairs, retaking kitchen once Pamazoo moves up there. Beast Coast are all basically in kitchen and in dirt. We have Gavini pushing down blue, which I think is a very nice angle, don't get me wrong, but even though he gets that position, if the rest of the push dies, there's not much it can do. It's supposed to be a backstab in this particular strategy, not the entire push. So once he doesn't have any support, there's not much for BC to do. And another case where on the attacking side, Beast Coast struggling to acquire all the control they need to get these executes they are gunning for.
On Canadian. We saw him get frisky that last round, and oh, he's going for it again. This is just like a completely different gear that we're seeing out of Darkzero right now. I mean, we see them go for roam strategies, right? But we do not see them go for things like this, especially for Troy. I mean, every once in a while you'll see him try something drastic, but even on his roams, he's still just trying to get people to be baited in, hold them in, try and get a big kill, try and delay some time. Right now, he's putting on a whole different face. And BC, you gotta be ready for this.
You gotta hope you don't fall prey to that. So just a standard execute from Beast Coast to start, or standard clear to start. Opening up a hole in the jacuzzi wall, can try to fully open it up with the Maverick in a second, though I think we'll have the Selmas use it instead. As I'm sure you guys noticed as well, over on the plat wall, we've got that mirror window setup that we've seen a lot more of recently. Standing hole actually made in the jacuzzi wall, telegraphing at least to us that Beast Coast definitely want to send it through the jacuzzi side. Oh man, well, and that's a bummer. That's so annoying.
You can have your cake, but you can't eat it too, as they say.
I'm curious, could they slice it with Gunnar's torch?
They most definitely can, but do you want to take that risk with NJR staring at you through a mirror window?
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
You know, that's where it kind of gets caught right in the throat. You're just like, I don't know, man. I don't know what we do here. And BC, they're in the exact same boat. They're stumped right now. They're hoping that Pamazoo just feeds himself into this scenario over inside a garage, but doesn't have to worry about it just yet. Actually, wow, that's incredible the way that ends up translating into this portion of the round. What the heck happens here? Pamazoo commits himself. Diffuser picks himself back up off the ground, and he's actually the player to kill him mid-air, like a clay pigeon, off of the garage balcony.
Yeah, certainly a good find from Diffuser. Can't give him flack for that, but still a poor round for Beast Coast so far. They have the opening pick, that much is true, but 2 minutes in is only when they get it. A lot of HP, a lot of damage done. Few drones remaining. Roam not cleared. Vertical angle down below to watch the gym plant. And what are they able to accomplish? Gavini just sends it into the site, and I suppose heroics are exactly how Beast Coast are finding their way over Darkzero, not only in this round, but also in this series. Canadian finds hot and cold, though. window. That's the man with the diffuser. That's the vertical angle that was unchecked by Beast Coast. And now Canadian can run away, trying to go for a clear with 10 seconds left. Gunner can deny it if he goes for this angle. He's got to be careful. From the prone, he cuts down Spirits. How do you lose that engagement? How does this round slip through your fingers? Can't even get the diffuser down in time. On time, indeed. Darkzero able to get there second.
Look at the madman. So very excited for that play inside of billiards, and why not? A beautiful moment for the Solus, a beautiful moment for Canadian, and it's not only does he take down the man with the diffuser, but also becomes the main wound festering for BC, and they cannot find any salve at all to assist with this, as he will easily eat them away. Now, BC down 2 rounds in a pretty quick fashion, I would say, as we're already into round 3. I'm going to shift gears yet again after those 2 successful back-to-back ones. I'm going to throw us on over to CCTV, and once again, Canadian probably going to be on more of an extended roam here. This has been a completely different clubhouse that we're seeing out of Darkzero.
At least in terms of the results, that much is certain. I mean, to be fair, they did get 2 rounds against Sonics before they lost 7-2, so it's possible in terms of the results this could be the same, but in terms of the momentum and the confidence, I definitely agree with you. Darkzero feeling a lot more in control of this game, and at the same time, the problem solving for Beast Coast not really there. Darkzero throwing a lot of really good obstacles their way. Beast Coast aren't finding great ways to overcome them. And so it ends up looking like Darkzero with good ideas, unchallenged, looking very, very nice. Moving to CCTV and Cash. How are Beast Coast going to try to find a way around this? Again, we've got the mirror window. Could be popped later on to make it difficult to Maverick this position. There you go. And now what's Gunner to do? Now you got to rely on somebody with range breach to do a more safer option.
Very smart. I'd be worried about those nitro cell lineups. Oh, there's a couple of people are probably like, what the heck? Why does he have to back off right there? And that's what you're worried about. Maybe those lineups flying through. If Ambazoo or Bolo just gets some proper placement, that Mav dies as he tries to get this wall open. Nave's going to be here to try and bandit trick this, but I'm sorry, sir. You've chosen wrong. It's actually the far side instead. We'll just replace that and a battery up close in case another Selma does get added, but they won't feel that's necessary. Instead, try and reapply themselves across the map. Gavini is going to be the one working in off of tub wall for this scenario.
Gavini just adding a bit of additional pressure. Certainly in NA, we've seen a bit of a disinclination towards garage pushes. A lot of teams seeming to favor this con side instead, which if you're able to properly predict the positions the defense is holding, could go your way. But of course, leaving garage undealt with, leaving and betting a lot of it on winning gunfights on the site. You can sometimes turn against the attack just as quickly as they acquire the control. Hot and Cold back on the Monty this time. Opening up this con wall is an imperative to make sure that he's not just funneled into this single doorway, that the MP goes out. Hot and Cold looks in for just a second, but backs off.
5 versus 5, and this is what Darkzero want. They want to be able to delay things out. They want to be able to use this utility into the latter portion of this round. The drone economy is starting to dwindle for BC, so they're going to move somebody back to the flank watch here, run out here from the mirror, and Gunner aware that there could be some other bodies trying to work their way out these windows and door frames in this space too. He's trying to at least hold things down for now. A nice flick onto Canadian. That was complete game sense out of him that finds that body. NGR with 1. Darkzero, so far so good. They'll force a team kill out of Gavini as they'll take down Hot and Cold. And that's the one thing about operating around that shield. He's fantastic at pressure, but sometimes when there's a miscalculation, a simple misstep leads to a headshot. And that's all she wrote. Beast Coast more than likely falling flat on their face. Spirits with 1. That's probably going to be it. They do have the angle working its way towards the breach. He'll hop out the window and trying to delay for as much as possible for you, Carter. And he's dead.
Dead indeed. Gotta be another tactical timeout, right?
That's all.
Gotta be another tactical timeout, I would assume, from Beast Coast, down 0-3 again, just as they were on Consulate. And their attacks, unfortunately, looking equally rough from
There it
what we
is.
saw on console. We'll have that tactical timeout as we saw, but it didn't really do a whole lot of work for Beast Coast. The only round they won on that attacking side on map 1 was the 1v3 from Gavini. Well, no, not the 1v3 from Gavini. It was a 3v3. He dropped down into the side, got a double kill, then Gunner got a key kill onto the Souls. He was trying to deny the play for the vertical position. You get the idea. It was a round of heroics from Beast Coast. They got their one attacking victory on Consulate. The timeout wasn't very effective there, and the concern is, how effective will it be here? They tried to go for another Monty push after. It didn't work out. Then they pivoted to a bit more traditional of an execute, and that didn't really pan out either. Different styles weren't meshing for Beast Coast because the core problems still rang true. They want to plant. They can't get the control and the angles they need to actually make it work. Now that they're down 0-3 again, they've hit the pause button. They've regrouped. They've talked things over. They're identifying a new game plan. Obviously, Hot and Cold could flex onto the Monty and the Operator repick, but it seems Beast Coast are moving away from that and a bit more towards something traditional.
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And honestly, I don't even think if they go back to the Monty, that's the worst thing in the world either. For Beast Coast, it's just really felt as though they have not been capable of producing a lid to cap Darkzero inside of these last few rounds. That last one, a little less aggressive than the previous two. But the point still stands. BC have constantly been thwarted in the way that they want to go about things. That last round, it was just a little bit more self-induced than the previous ones. Although Darkzero doing a bang-up job of being able to just simply stay alive. That's exactly what you want in a situation like that. Keep those men up. Make it to where you have those active guns going into the latter portion of that round and make things complicated for the offense. Works well for Darkzero, swimming through 3 rounds so far, already getting that timeout out of BC2. They got to be very happy about this as they reinsert themselves downstairs.
With a completely different look as well after the tactical timeout. Going back down to basement, maybe, but with the addition of the castle, the exit of the Solus and the Valkyrie from this setup, no roam, well, no intel on the roam whatsoever. As you can see, there are a couple defenders on top or around the map. Canadian finds Spirits. And where was that? Well, that's on a very classic play. Just Canadian sitting in con on top of a mute jammer. We see Foltz running that exact same play on Clubhouse. Not exactly anything crazy, and yet he finds Spirits, the Thatcher, when one of those operators Darkzero are bringing that they didn't bring before is Cade.
That's the thing for BC as well. You look across the board, I mean, how many operators can you really lose? There's so much value here when it comes to how things are set up downstairs. I mean, especially when it comes to something like a Thatcher, they're gonna want to try and get access to these hatches, and that's dwindling very quickly. Not only that, but you want access to these hatches, it's probably just Gunner that's going to be able to give you that. If you want access to something like the church walls, it's going to be all hot and cold with those Selmas from range, probably from the bottom of main, I would assume. And now things get all the more difficult for BC.
All the more difficult, a little reliant on Darkzero giving away some opening. Vini will use an Ash Charge to open up the, well, colloquially referred to as Ash Wall. Does see somebody sitting on top of one of the boxes in Arsenal. Not able to find the kill. Darkzero just need to not get antsy. It's really all they need to do right now. Once Beast Coast obviously push in, they'll need to react, but in the 5v4, they've got the advantage. They even have the 3 Zotos to maybe throw on a wall, throw on a doorway to make it harder for Beast Coast to actually flood in. They even got the C4s and the smokes, the more standard utility from Canadian and Panbazoo as well. If they were ever around to go 4-0, it would be this one. Just don't overplay your hand. Don't overextend. Don't give Beast Coast the opening they're seeking. 30 seconds remaining, Sam. It seems Darkzero in a good position to close the round out in that way.
Well, Carter, I hope you like circuses, because this is going to be a pure funnel right here. They're trying to work their way down hatches. They're trying to work their way down door frames. It's the hatch that comes first. Nothing working out. And Darkzero putting them on a pike. It's a flawless round from DZ. And the energy now coming back to this roster that's been at it for, what, potentially 8 hours of siege by the end of this? This is truly insane.
Yeah, I mean, insanity is definitely one way to put it. I mean, I hate to start getting negative. I really do, but these attacks from Beast Coast, I mean, the only round we've got this whole series is off of a heroic play from Gavini. That's the only attack Beast Coast have to their name. To be fair to them, Darkzero aren't exactly a lot better on their attacking side. They've lost 6 as well. But Darkzero have started on defense both times. They've got these leads early. On their map pick, you expect Beast Coast to be a little more convincing. And here, on a map that they played before, they talked a big game about how they've improved, about how they've retooled, how they've changed, and undeniably, they have. They got first in the group stage after all. You got to improve if you want to get that number. But the attacks are looking with like the same issues on Consulate. Even without the Monty, all they can end up getting is a kitchen drop in a 4v5 with nobody pushing from blue, really, or successfully. No additional angle from dirt or bottom main successfully. It's all a kitchen drop, all a funnel. Beast Coast down 0-4 again, and maybe relying on another heroic play to give them a fighting chance at the side swap.
Yeah, I think the main thing is whenever you see your biggest issue being Canadian on a routine basis, you know something's got to be drastically going wrong. And that's no knock against Canadian. That's just like usually routinely when their team is doing really well, again, he just has those really high value, low amount of kill situations, or just has situations where he's able to delay things out or use utility in a really positive way. But instead, he's been the whole kit and caboodle that has been taking it to BC. They have not had a chance inside of these rounds, and a lot of it has been because of Canadians' efforts. It's not going to be the start for him. It's going to be Pambazoo instead for this round. 3-1 to start off here. Ready for the next swing, but so is Gavini, as he won't even be touched on that gunfight. Diffuser will also be able to claim 1-2. Now Beast Coast, they'll pull ahead when it comes to the man count.
And you gotta give them credit at least for this. They can hit their shots. This team on the attack has been saved. Their Consulate was saved just by a couple key players hitting their shots at the exact right time. Here, it's got them the 4v3. They've had advantages before on their attacking half, and they've lost them a couple times already. So that doesn't mean the round is Beast Coast. We still have a player in the wind from Darkzero. The Beast Coast have at least hit their shots. They've cleared out this roam, and on Gym Bedroom, that was more than they accomplished last time.
100%. And honestly, with this position, this is looking really solid. A lot of time, they can get their player over on balcony that's necessary, get things set up inside of construction. And not only that, but they can also accomplish something that's been needed over on Jacuzzi. Although as soon as I say that, we will have a Nitro Cell out of Nave. That's actually going to be the last one. So you do get some solid positioning when it comes to the setup on the site to plant. I might come back to bite Darkzero, but I mean, honestly, probably a better idea to just keep that Jacuzzi wall locked up. Take that away from Beast Coast and make it to where they have to go more horizontally, or at least more in front of Darkzero. They can't really stretch him as thin as previously.
Well, flashbangs going in. NJR will dodge it. Logi drop incoming, trying to power the Legion inside of this position, but both kills go his way. Peeks the bedroom window, maybe a little unnecessarily, but there's Canadian to lend a helping hand. 1v2 now for Hot and Cold. Doesn't know one is off site because of that kill acquired by Canadian. If he can find this 1v1. Knows he's now over by the Jacuzzi wall, but looks the other way, worried about the con angle. He's got to isolate this 1v1. He's given time for Canadian to rotate back, but he's so lacking on information, so indecisive about what angle to peek. Commits to the Jacuzzi swing, but the player's backed off to main. Darkzero playing this so well, not giving away the advantage. Too late now to bait out the true swing for Hot and Cold. Nave will just rotate around to give Darkzero their 5th defense in a row.
A perfect defense so far from Darkzero. Even when they're pressured on the extremities, when it comes to the spine of this defense, it is quite strong. Drinking their milk, clearly, man, is they're doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to this. BC not capable when it comes to getting these executes to go off. And not only that, not really capable of finding another kill through what could have been a pretty easy trade as they try and set things up, but they put a lot of things, they front load a lot of things into logistics, into dropping into that portion of the site and trying to take a fight with that player inside of gold. And I cannot understate how very wrong things go for BC in that moment.
Nothing's gone right for them so far. They've tried the Monty. They've tried to bring important execute operators, Grim, Capital. They've only brought those a couple times, to be fair. I think the Grim especially has only been brought like one singular time. So they're not exactly giving themselves a lot of advantages in these fights beyond betting it on secondary utility like those flashbangs. And when NJR can just turn around and look back, it's pretty easy for him to get those kills because Beast Coast are anticipating him to be flashed. NJR catches them off guard, gets those picks. I mean, maybe we see Beast Coast, they're running the Monty, maybe we, you know, obviously in theory, without the operator picks being confirmed, run the Grim a bit more, run something a bit more. I don't really know what Beast Coast can change their lineup. It needs to be something substantive, and on round 6, I just don't think it's going to happen if the previous 5 have all looked the same.
It's going to have to be a complete energy shift here from Beast Coast. They have to find something, and they have to find it fast, some advantage inside of this early round. And that's the thing. I mean, they're kind of grasping at straws right now, Carter. There's no real clear answer, because that's the thing about Clubhouse. It's very straightforward. There's no overcalculation. There's really nothing that you can do that, you know, the other team isn't going to be prepared for. It's very played out at the end of the day. And that's why BC are struggling so hard. This is a map where Darkzero, specifically Canadian, is world-renowned. It's the defaults, man. It's the basics of Siege. And he's one of the best in the business when it comes to a map like this.
You can see the C4 prepped in oil pit, Canadian with that utility in hand. The call has been given. There's a Monty on garage door. When he starts pushing in, when he commits, throw that C4. This could be the opening pick for DZ. Might come late. There's the push in. Canadian patient. Doesn't throw it just yet. Nothing to counter him at the moment. I think Hot and Cold might hear it, though. Might be aware, but no, the C4 flies from the top ropes and down below as well. But I think they destroy each other. I think when one C4 goes off, it obliterates the other. So Hot and Cold just on, to be fair, below 50 HP. Not dead, and that might be important because Beast Coast are struggling with every facet of this clear beyond the actual garage position. Bolo, before the flash, is able to find one. Hot and Cold gets the trade, the boost angle. Quick work for Gunner there. Beast Coast were able to win a map off of one attacking victory before. At another 4v3, can they do it again here?
And this is where things get so very scary for Darkzero. This is when BC feel indomitable. As soon as they start to get solid pressure like this is when they're just a flurry, absolute demons in the server that seem capable of losing a round. Nice creep job there, as we see, as it's worked up oil pit from Darkzero. This might be the moment that they've been waiting for. In comes Hot and Cold. Canadian. We talked about time and time again up against this BC roster. He has been the heart and soul of DZ, the one that has constantly thwarted the game plan. Right now, this is where things will matter most. What a shot. Canadian will find one. Spirit somehow kills Gunner. It's a 2 versus 2. They have to try and find Diffuser. Hot and Cold's gonna be locked behind this shield, but this is it. Canadian doesn't have a nitro. Hot and Cold, he's in behind that shield. Diffuser's got a kill. And they've got what is practically the most necessary thing on this offensive half. A singular round before the half swap.
They got their one. They got the one round on the attack, and I suppose this time there isn't any major heroics. They just brute force garage over the course of 2 minutes. But really, maybe it's that C4 destroying the other, only damaging Hot and Cold instead of killing him. And even if it was shot by the attack, that second C4 not landing, they used the Monty to brute force Bolo's position. It's the player who got the trade when Bolo took down the garage door player, peeking ahead of the flash. If Hot and Cold's not there, odds are this is a 6-0 defensive half for Darkzero. And the attack, sure, were poor on Consulate. They lost 6 in a row. But Clubhouse is their pick. It's Darkzero's territory. It's still a lot more likely they close this out in regulation than Consulate, but we have to address the 6-0 comeback from BC 2 times in a row is a theoretical possibility. And getting that one round on the attack, Darkzero continue to struggle out the gate like they did on Consulate, then it might be possible that Beast Coast qualify for the major off of only winning 1 attacking round per map.
And how insane would that be, right? Like, that's things you do not think about when you sit down and are like, let's get some Siege going for the day. Just utter insanity. But, all still a reality. For Beast Coast, I'm going to try and continually change that. Gavini's going to be the lead man here. Point man, you could say, for BC. He's going to be on the Vigil, trying to get ahead of the drone play out of Darkzero. And so far, really 3 kills to his name when it comes to this map. Previous map, a little bit of a better showing, but obviously this offense was not too great when it came to BC. So looking to hopefully shore things up on this defensive side, just like they did over on Consulate.
I'll say seeing the Vigil is harkening back to the worst days of Beast Coast than the better, but it was Spirits with the Boss G on that operator, so a little bit different here. We'll have to see what Gavini has to offer. The ERC might be able to cloak him, but a solo roamer playing too far away, whether it's the Vigil or the Mute in this particular case, could be fodder for Darkzero if their clear's good enough. A minute 15 seconds in, they're more concerned with getting control of these hatches right now, making their way into stock, making their way into kitchen. Since they are in stock, do they know about Gavini? Capital firing bullets. No, he's unaware. And Gavini doesn't shoot until he's got his prey locked down in stock. One more going his way, but it's the Monty. Impact grenades put him low. Second not clean. He knocks away the shield, but Bolo knocks him down onto the floor. Darkzero only losing 1 body on that clear.
He might have done it. That might be what was necessary. Pambazoo. One of the main things that DZ love is this player right here. Not only with his capability through utility game, but his capability when it comes to crunch time. He can be the main gun, the main game plan for Darkzero to win some of these big rounds. But BC, they're starting to pull away on this defense here. Another big pickup onto NJR. And this gamble from Gavini so far has been paying out in spades.
Now the 2 roamers gone unread, catching Darkzero off guard. Missed drones of their own to match Beast Coast struggles, despite Beast Coast often only having 1. Darkzero still at 5, and he's worked his way into bar. The Monty spotted him at least, but he can just run away. Canadian solo HP, but no C4 to deal with this engagement. He can just run. He knows he can bait the time, but there's only 20 seconds left, and Canadian's getting lost in the weeds of Strip, trying to hunt down this Mute. He's got Diffuser, by the way. Not exactly a guy you can send on a solo venture. It doesn't pan out. He finds nothing on his trip. Diffuser finding another. Bolo in the 1v4. He's great. He gets 1. Beast Coast get their first round on defense. Man, oh man, what a piss poor roam clear for Darkzero.
Yeah, you can say that again, my friend. That was something else out of Darkzero. They get lost in Hollywood, dude. The lights, the glitz, the glamour, everything getting produced from BC right there, all for show. And it ends up in Strip Club. Canadian just getting lost in the sauce. Has to take the fight with the pistol, loses things out. That's case down. And not only that, but his 2 compatriots, his 2 compadres, they're all the way downstairs, my man. They're trying to figure things out on the basement setup still. And this man's off in Narnia fighting the guy in Strip Club. It's not exactly the mathematical equation you're looking to build up to a successful round. Does not exactly equate, but when you're Darkzero and you have such a huge, such a gargantuan lead, that is something that you have the benefit of happening.
And if we're being even-handed here, it wasn't actually all that bad from DZ, and because, like you said, of the lead they've established. All right, guys, let's be on the lookout for a Vigil sitting next to a doorway for a minute and a half. It's something that Darkzero, with that lead, can be a bit more aware of going forward. Not saying it will necessarily happen with that operator, but still, something that Darkzero, especially with Solus and Gunner, who likes to roam, something that Darkzero, I'm sure, will be a little more conscious of going forward. They're still up 5-2. They're going to gym bedroom. Let's see how they're able to cut their teeth on the CCTV and cache extension, and see how they deal with a bit more of a rigid setup from the defense.
I think something that's going to be in the lobe of Darkzero here, right? I mean, just to harken back to how things ended up for BC and Darkzero on Consulate. BC's entire defensive half is what saved their bacon up against Darkzero on BC's map choice. Now, we're going back to that exact same playbook. Darkzero have to consider what BC like to do. What do they stock their value in? And as you said, a lot of it is more of these high-flying antics that we see out of people like Gunner. So this is something that Darkzero are going to have to seriously consider as they transition through the remainder of these rounds here on Clubhouse.
Even something as simple as maybe not even going for the full CCTV and chaos control, which it seems like they are, but, you know, if they were able to maybe create a lot of pressure on the Jacuzzi side, just have somebody watch the rappel, see if anybody from BC goes for the swing, it'd be able to contain the aggression without maybe availing yourselves to these roamers, as Darkzero otherwise might, but they do seem to be clearing it out in its entirety, which means there are 2 to 3 defenders all around this part of the map that could cause a lot of problems for DZ. Hamzu also down below, seeing if he could find anybody lurking in the basement. Could also go up main stairs later on. Bolo finds a gap. Nobody watching red stairs. He does see the laser sight for a split second flick across the rotate. We know Spirits isn't watching right now. It's Gunner instead watching from construction, or Gavini, excuse me, watching that rotate hole. Spirits loses a lot of damage. Bolo thinks he might have the play. Spirits loses the fight, but Bolo's still not pushing. Gavini rotates off. He actually might end up getting the better of the defense just by not peeking in that particular instance. There's still only 50 seconds left, though, and they've only acquired CC.
Practically perfect play out of Bolo there. That assistance coming through, able to get that pick onto Spirits. You can see Darkzero. They want to make sure to dot their I's. They want to make sure to cross their T's. Don't let Beast Coast into this round. And this is a gift from the gods of Rainbow Six. This is a gift of the map pool and how Clubhouse tends to work. It's just very linear, very straightforward. Not a lot of different things that you can really try and pull off. Not too many antics
Panda's
that
still
are
red.
an unknown quantity. You're gonna have a rotate out of this. They'll have Gunner all the way downstairs to try and prevent, but Gavini's gonna kill Hot and Cold somehow, some way. Gab's now dead too. Gunner cannot find the man planting through the floor. Just everything that could go wrong has went wrong for Beast Coast. And Darkzero, I'm just gonna say it, they're on map point.
I mean, to be fair, it is a 1v2, but Nave now picked back up, and Gunner traded out. Darkzero indeed on map point. A lot of chaos in the comms for Beast Coast, very clearly. Again, not exactly the best attack from DZ. Take a lot of time, but to their credit, they do get the control they need. They have the pressure from Metal Balcony. They can watch the swings inside of the site. They've also got general control of construction to make sure nobody can flank. So all Beast Coast have are 2 things: the C4 and the Solus from below. The C4 doesn't land, and Gunner can't find the guy with the diffuser, unfortunately. So neither option working out for Beast Coast to deny that plant. Darkzero able to get it down successfully and do something they weren't able to do on Consulate, which is win an attack. Now, to be fair, one round was a Gavini 1v3 that Darkzero should have won. You could argue they should have won that, and you would be correct. So Darkzero basically just getting to where they should have been on Consulate. And of course, if they had won that round, game would have gone OT map 1. Here, based on that round from Darkzero, was it pretty? Was it outstanding S tier? No, but they got the control they needed. They got it done, even if it took a lot of time. That's more than Beast Coast were really able to do consistently on their attacks. Darkzero just had the benefit of a 4-round lead just to make that happen one more time.
A delay being brought by DC here. Something that could be very beneficial to them, especially if Darkzero wants to try and line things up for a more garage-esque take. We've been seeing a lot of teams start to favor things like construction. Gunner, you absolute psychopath. He kills Pamba. I'm scared for the player on the window. Why did I know that would happen? Gunner gets 2. And he practically decides the fate of this round in one foul swoop. Now, I know what you're gonna say, but Stokes, they still have the main things that they need to get the walls open. It's not over yet. There's a lot of things that have to go right for Darkzero from this moment onward, and a lot of it has to deal with Beast Coast over swinging and giving them a few opportunities to get some big kills.
Nave now looking to take down the default cam, pre-aiming it through the barricade. I mean, yeah, Darkzero, like you said, they might have all they need, but those big kills from Beast Coast, the 5v3 established, should be winnable round unless some people start to do some trolling or Darkzero able to isolate some really important gunfights. Nave going, is he in dirt? Is Nave in dirt right now? I mean, he's got a minute 40 seconds to be fair, but...
He is in dirt. And the best part is that there's nobody playing secret. There's nobody even playing like swamp / like, you know, lounge. Like there's nobody down here at all. He's just honestly doing this for his own leisure. And there's going to be a kill out of Gab. Yeah, Canadian trains it back, but I mean, this is just such a bad situation for Darkzero.
Oh, they got the double stack too. Look at this. I mean, on the opposite side of the red stairs, 2 players watching Nath. He'll melee the barb, give away his position. Spirit's even rotating with the clash just to deny the lurk from Nath up the staircase. Gunner is put to very low HP as he's the only player actually on the roam. They've got time to try to find this guy, and they will. So now 2v3 for Darkzero. And if you want to be specific, Clash doesn't have a gun. Only 2 guns on 2 for Beast Coast versus Darkzero. But Spirits has the intel on where Nath is rotating, has the intel on where he's pushing. One player now wrapping around inside a garage. Cam is down, so they won't be able to spot it. And Nath will actually be able to use his final Selma on the plat wall breach. So now a bit of an angle opened up, but with so little time remaining, so little control, Darkzero still just trying to figure out how they want to end this round. With the Clash staring them in the face, Nath finally decides to go up red stairs to fake the pressure. On the initial engagement, loses a lot of HP, isn't able to finish off the Fuser, doesn't finish him off on the re-swing, and with the pistol, the Fuser for 2 to wrap up that round and get the 6-3 deficit for Beast Coast.
Very well done. Great discovery there from Gunner off rip, and yeah, that's how that round is supposed to go from a moment like that onwards. There's really nothing that you can do as long as BC trades things out appropriately, as long as they're able to hold on to these pivotal areas around the basis of the actual site. Things are going to continue to go their way with a situation like that. This is exactly what we see. After that early success, after Gunner hops out a window, kills one that decapitates Bolo on the re-swing, BC are well within their right to be able to claim another, but still a long run ahead of them still, as they need 3 rounds to tie things up with Darkzero.
They were able to net a lot in the row earlier, but still, again, when Darkzero have that lead, it's very difficult. Going back down to Church Arsenal, we saw that Vigil roam from Gavini. We will not see it this time. A lot more utility-focused from Beast Coast on the retry of Church and Arsenal. Tuber out, into the lineup. Cade, into the lineup. And then, we still have the Mira, Mute, and Warden like we had before. But now Beast Coast can focus a lot more on denying those hatches from Darkzero. So how will we find Gunner getting aggressive in the first minute? That's what I'm still curious, because surely he's going to do it.
It's definitely something I'd never take away from him.
Oh, there he is.
That's what you mean.
We found him in Con.
He was cooking in there. He made this inside a Con with a box of scraps. Bolo, he's feeling like cooking. Inox on. I has a feeling that there's somebody in the area, and the Inox will confirm it, won't he? Oh, who can deliver? That's the real question. It's usually Bo, but this time it's Gunner with the gun-e. The SMG-11 does him in.
Going for the
Last
trade.
time, I believe it was the P90, but my God, man, Bo just cannot get the ball rolling up against Beast Coast.
No, he cannot. I thought Pamazoo was actually going to go in for that trade, but he's still outside a Con window. Darkzero have accepted going down to the 5v4. And of course, because of that mute jammer, Canadian tries to use a death mark, and it doesn't end up working because Gunner just walks through a mute jammer, it deletes the drone, and my boy is still up here? He's not rotated back. I mean, he's screaming. He knows he just got away with highway robbery. He can play his life now at this point. He's already used his C4. When you're in the 4v5, you say, all right, maybe I should rotate back, because if I die, it's a 4v4. Now, it does not matter. Play your life. Try and win as many fights as you can. Triple kill now for Gunner. He's even got intel on his position. Canadian sending it to Nath and himself. Finally, Nath stops his reign of terror on the top floor, but this round is chalked.
Back-to-back rounds where Gunner just single-handedly decides how the rest of the round is forced to be played out? What is going on for Darkzero? They cannot set themselves up for success. They cannot find something as simple as a player over logistics just off on his own island. There's no help there for him at all. There's no reinforcements. There's no mute jammers. There's no nothing. It's just Gunner. That's it. And he's getting so much value out of this. Yeah, he dies, but like, what more could you want from a mute of all operators rolling around the top floor of Clubhouse?
Especially when he's just winning 1v1 after 1v1 given to him. No pinches, no utility, nothing. Gunner getting excellent value out of not the best clear from Darkzero. Now Canadian will reveal his position by throwing that nade in from dirt. Just confirm it with the second. You're trying to bait out the swings to catch Nafe on the long angle, but hot and cold with the C4. They'll put Nafe in a difficult position bottom main, moving into Moto. TCSG around the corner, spelling doom. They trade. That's a Beast Coast victory. The gap narrows just a little bit more. Darkzero might have one, but Beast Coast 2 away from OT.
If you're telling me that we witnessed a OT here because of an insane defensive half yet again from BC, I mean, I don't even know what to say at that point. This team is just unequivocal. There's really nothing that I can put into words to try and describe them at that moment in time, because it's just like, how can nothing go right for them whenever it comes to their offensive side? But as soon as they get on their defenses, it's like the world is their oyster. Specifically, obviously, for the last 2 rounds, Gunner being said oyster. He's just right there chilling in the pearl for this team.
And the things just Darkzero are letting Beast Coast get away with is a team of this caliber. I mean, you know, I get the visual maybe catching you off guard round 1, and it's a 5-1 half. Understandable. It's going to happen sometimes. GG, go next. And guess what? They win the next round. Excellent. Gym bedroom. Woo. Did it take a long time? Yeah, but we got our execute. We take those. Then CCTV and Cash comes out. Gunner just kills Pambazoo immediately. 5v4 for Beast Coast right off the rip. Darkzero struggled to recover the momentum. All right, not great, but again, you have the lead. But then again, one guy upstairs. Canadian ran the exact same roam on their defensive half. And all they're able to do is throw 1v1s at him. It's just not a great look from DZ on their attacking side. And, you know, again, let's be fair. Beast Coast have had very poor attacks today as well. It's a theme for both teams. Neither one can really get a lot going. For Beast Coast, they can't really get to their plants. For Darkzero, they can't really deal with Beast Coast roams. There are problems for both of these teams. But Darkzero have got one. If that's all they can get, Beast Coast have a shot at taking this to overtime. And then on Clubhouse, in OT, DZ at least start defense on that side, thankfully. So maybe they'll be able, if it goes to OT, close it out there.
Darkzero pulling out all of the stops. Bolo is on an LMG, first of all. That's the number one. Canadians went on over to Monty. Pamela with the 5.52, but, I mean, that thing also has a name, and her name is IQ. So, if they can get any value out of that, you'll be able to get at least some. They do have the Valkyrie on the board. Can't play that up against Solus, too. Just things get a little questionable whenever IQ's on the board, because sometimes it just does not work out for her utility. But that 5.52 Commando, man, it still rips.
That's certainly still good, but so does the MPX from Gunner. Then again, most of the weapons Gunner are using. Able to cross red. Hamazu cutting down Gavini early on. What a nice find. We didn't see the Solus work out on the plant denial before on Gym Bedroom, but Panba, again, all the way down in basement. Nobody crossed him last time. This time with the Solus gone, you're a lot more comfortable going for that plant in Gym. You're also a lot more confident going on this clear of CCTV and Cash. And even if it takes another minute and 20 seconds without the worries of that Specchio, Darkzero's confidence will be much higher. Chip damage done by that C4, the Adrenal Surge completely erases it. Well, obviously concerned about some kind of camera. I think everyone from Beast Coast on this side of construction and CCTV, but Gunner's only good for one. The smoke will choke off the Monty's entry on top red, maybe giving Gunner the opportunity to fall back. Canadians certainly will, pulling back down red stairs, and Beast Coast extricating themselves from this realm.
Able to disembark back towards site. Instruction now a hot commodity for Darkzero. This is going to be in the forefront of their minds. Forefront for BC as well. And actually might just all go down here. We might not even need a case plant. It might come down to blows and who dies last. Gunner maintain this cross, just trying to assist his team hot and cold, up close and personal. It's down to the info game here. Who knows what? Do they know about these positions? Hot and cold's ready for the hop out the window. He'll find one himself, and now he's gonna have to try and drop down and reinsert himself on the main stairs. Gunner will be able to take out 1-2, and it was a great gamble here from BC. They doubled down on this positioning here in construction, tripled down honestly with the amount of bodies that they had in the area, but now it's down to DZ to try and do their due diligence intelligence, try and find some space, and they've done exactly that. Canadian, a master pilot when it comes to shields, especially in the common day. He'll find a big kill here inside of Waits, but they still need a place to put this case down.
You know, take cover behind the reinforcement. NJR gotta cover, gotta get these picks. One goes his way. He lines up both. They get the attack they need. Two on their side. The comeback not happening from Beast Coast. 7-4 for DZ on their pick. We have map 3 on the cards. Both major qualification games. Nothing but bangers.
That was quite something, wasn't it? Darkzero, especially on Clubhouse, they're finally being able to catch a fire. Although Gunner, for a split second there, seemed as though he was going to be the fire extinguisher. Darkzero having more capability on Clubhouse than Consulate. Clearly, they will force things on to a game 3.
I force things onto a game 3, and the attacks still are not great from either of these teams. Let's just make this abundantly clear. But Darkzero are just a little bit more coordinated, Sam. A little bit more clean in that late round. When you have Canadian and NJR coordinating that 2v3, I mean, that's evidence right there.
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, especially with the way that BC tried to deal with that too, it felt as though BC were going to have a really great understanding of how like the host of that round was going to go as they tried to go in and move in for that plant, but clearly just not really having a good understanding of how things were going to go with that Monty being implemented. I mean, Canadian just runs roughshod over the entire round, Carter. He walks right through the bomb site, bullies the man inside of Waits. I mean, come on, somebody help this guy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate stuff to lose that 3v2 for Beast Coast, but they still have one map to try to save their chances at qualifying to Manchester via the upper bracket semis. Map 2 done. We have a quick break and then the desk for the breakdown and the setup right after this.
Beast Coast may think they're the team that rules the seas, but Darkzero are still the Leviathan lurking from below with the intent to go all the way to Manchester for themselves. They win their own map pick. Clubhouse was the right selection after all. They finally beat Beast Coast after managing to string together a couple of decent attacks in the midst of Beast Coast running away with what looked like it could have been another really bad defensive half. And to Laxton's point, earlier on, before we even cut back away from cameras, Beast Coast could have won map 2, but they just let it slip.
I was jumping for joy. I was like, they got their one attack. Defense is looking solid in that last round specifically. This gave all the information that was no information given because Troy was able to walk in on that castle and absolutely bully him inside that gym, and then NJR playing beautiful coverage where that easily should have been a Beast Coast round.
I gotta say, it was a choice and a half for Beast Coast to choose starting on attack in 2024 on Clubhouse. I know you said you enjoy it, but I really don't think it was the call here. Going down 5-0 to Darkzero, who got the pleasure of starting on defense. They clearly thrived in that environment. There were some shaky rounds, but NJR or whoever they needed to would step up and have the big moments that clutched it back for Darkzero. It felt like even when Darkzero were down and out, they would make the aggressive moves to step back up and retake that man advantage. And when they didn't need to, in rounds like 5 and 6, they sat pretty. They didn't give their lives away for nothing. They didn't play stupid. They made sure they held down those advantages like Clubhouse often enables you to do. Darkzero played this so smart. They took a little bit of time on attack. Gunner was like, actually, no, we're not going to lose this game, until eventually they did. So it took them some time, but eventually they closed out with their attacks, and DZ pushes to a map 3.
This was the round right here. The castle, I mean, the Monty should have never been able to push castle like that. It is so sad to see.
It is bonkers to me that castle barricade on the gym door was not, like, pre-punched.
That would have been genius, though, to be completely honest.
That's what a lot of teams have done this stage.
Were you a player?
I'm kind of crazy like that, maybe.
Jesse Chick,
in the copper lobbies, I go nuts with it. But the key thing is if you just prep that barricade, if you punch it, you know, one before, I don't know, like 10?
That's the, maybe.
Enough.
I don't know. We've gone off the rails at this point. It's basically 1 in the morning. One thing to point out, though, this was a tale of 2 very different kitchen jump outs of all things. Like, We saw Canadian do it at the very beginning. We saw Gav do it later on, but they were two very different rounds the way this played.
When I saw Canadian do this, first of all, he's in kitchen. There's a guy out in spawn. He shoots at the outhouse and the tires, and then somehow, against all odds, he makes it out.
What was
There's
that
a guy outside freezer. There's people outside the window. He is never punished, and then he gets the final kill of the round too. And it's only Pamba upstairs. That's winnable 1v1 otherwise. And then Gunner says, "Troy, old man Canadian, I'll show you how it's done. I'll show you how a real gamer does it." Does he get punished? Absolutely not. He fries the gridlock as well. And the craziest thing is I'm pretty sure they lost that round.
I'll be honest. That was the most
was round
unorthodox beginning to a start of a map. And seeing Troy do it out of all people was insane to me. I never thought Troy would be jumping out of kitchen window to run out for that, not get punished, and still end up winning that round.
On round one, he was really trying to set the tempo.
This is tactical though, because it's been a long night for Darkzero, okay? I know there's some Europeans in the talent group chat who are tired and want to go to bed. I know there's some people in the production staff that are tired and want to go to bed. And there's probably people in Darkzero who are tired and want to go to bed because they've been playing Siege for like 8 hours now. But they need to keep the energy up, and when Canadians doing such questionable plays like that and getting away with it, that inspires the rest of the team to stay awake and shoot straight for the rest of the map, and that's what they did.
There is something to playing an actual official pro match during gamer hours, but there's also something to suggest Darkzero have been in this situation before. I wonder what that is. It's almost like they've been to LANs, they've played together as a team a whole bunch. Beast Coast as a team, as individuals, they've played under pressure before, but as a team, they've never had to endure something like this. So at what point does Darkzero just have more stamina than Beast Coast do, and Beast Coast give into the fatigue?
Well, even with the stamina or fatigue, there still are 4 veterans on that team that have dealt with fatigue, that have played at LANs, that do understand this is a best of 3. They've played many best of 3s, so they do know that it's just one game. You literally have to go into the last one. Manchester is on the line right here. You got to leave it all on the table for both teams, to say the least. And, you know, we talked about Pamba specifically. He didn't have a great game here. I need Pamba top East. Well, you need Pamba top East to be performing.
Kidding.
I can't have him performing going into this last map.
Yeah, those predictions are getting tight, and I mean, Darkzero, I was a little nervous the way that first
You
map
had right to be, yeah.
kind of devolved, but it's fine. I've never doubted Darkzero. I believe in them to pull out this third map on Border.
We're heading to Border Map 3. Both of the last 2 maps in the series are ones that Beast Coast played earlier in the stage and lost in various fashion. Last time they played Border, it was the 3-7 loss to OXG before they really found their footing. We should add that caveat to it. But the last time Darkzero played it was just earlier today, and they beat Luminosity 7-5, and based on the way the band shook out, Beast Coast have opted to attack first on this map, meaning we're seeing Darkzero start in an advantage, we think, because when they played LG, it was a 3-3 half, so maybe it's not nearly as much?
I mean, you know, I wanted to give Beast Coast the benefit of the doubt of Clubhouse specifically of, you know, they didn't find their identity when they lost to Luminosity, but seeing that display, I mean, both teams are looking very poor on attack nonetheless, and Beast Coast, you're taking, okay, is this correct with what you just said? Now, Beast Coast
I believe that's wrong. I think I have it right here.
Okay, so yeah, if Beast Coast is taking attack again, I mean, surely third time's the charm. You understand how you want to approach it and work together and take a site or take map control, because the past 2 maps have not shown that.
Listen, I'll put it this way. Darkzero have the momentum. Last time they played earlier today on Border, it was Canadian who was asleep at the wheel. Canadian is on fire after that Clubhouse game. And their key player, last time they were on Border, it was Pampa party time. And it's going to be Pampa party time again.
His clock's wrong on that, by the way.
You don't need to verify that.
How do you know what's on his watch?
He showed me.
Can you even read a clock? Can you read his watch?
Yeah, it's like 7 o'clock right now on it. Never mind. It's 8.
Yeah, it's like 8:30.
It's 8:30.
We're a little bit delirious, but we're kind of hoping that the guys on DZ and Beast Coast are not as delirious as us, just because if they win this map, they go to Manchester. If they lose, then they have to play another game for Manchester tomorrow and do this entire cycle all over again. Who's going to the UK? Who's going to the major? Darkzero or Beast Coast? It's Stokes and Lynx with the call.
And as we all know, nothing fixes delirium like a late night game on Border. That's just a recipe for sane minds and clean hands. I mean, this is how the night should have ended. With a final map on Border, it's very late in the day. Darkzero had a crazy game here earlier, and I don't necessarily mean it was dominant. I mean, Nick and I were struggling to figure out who was actually in the lead at any given moment. And going against Beast Coast, a team who could likely channel similar energy, Sam, this could prove to be equally chaotic.
Yeah, this is like winding down the night with absinthe as a nightcap. Like this is not exactly the way that you want to try and cap things off. But hey, we're here, we're ready. As much energy as we had to start the day, maybe not. But for Darkzero's sake, you really hope that does not affect them. This is their second best of 3 that they've played today. This one's going the full distance, baby. As it sits right now, I'm sitting in Dallas, Texas, folks. It's 12:09 a.m. right now. Over on the East Coast, it's 1 in the morning. Darkzero are going to be fighting off into the night against a fresher Beast Coast who has once again chosen the offensive side, which has been so unbelievably problematic this entire best of 3.
Yeah, obviously, like, they don't know their attacks are going to be poor before the game starts. However, hindsight being what it is, not maybe the best decision, unfortunately. Again, they didn't know that. It's not their fault. It wasn't an actual mess up, but only achieving 1 round on the attack every time they've tried the map so far is not a great omen for Beast Coast as they try the attack on a 3rd time, specifically when Darkzero, specifically Panda, how many times can I use an adverb in 1 sentence? Panba was going nuclear over on the east side. I mean, 3K into 4K into 2K into 4K. Over on the office archives and East Air side, LG were unable to get a hold on him. And Beast Coast have struggled to get a hold on important bits of map control, whether they've gone for an execute or gone for roam clears. Panba is likely going to be in a similar position. You're not fully changing the strategy after the game earlier. And I'm worried BC might get caught off guard the same way LG did.
Yeah, the situation's also already starting to form in a very similar pattern as well. Even the bans that we have implemented are extremely similar to y'all's earlier matchup. The only difference being the Fenrir being banned out instead of the Valkyrie, which will be immediately implemented by Canadian. And why not? Those Valk cams so very good, especially in a map like this where info, it means a whole heck of a lot. You know what else means a lot? Keeping control towards the outside of the building. Something that we touched on when it came to Consulate. Something that means a lot on a lot of these maps, especially if you're able to actually get things going in that manner. It's not an issue for Darkzero. They're able to hold the full breadth of border. And not only that, they're able to take down Gavini.
Now losing the Nomad incredibly early on. Beast Coast, I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. We're starting off with the Monty again. They have typically so far played this for the first 3-4 rounds. Both maps, they've lost the first 3 to 4 rounds and then switch off afterwards. And where's Panba?
There he
well,
is.
He's back on East Stairs. Our boy, alongside Canadian and Break, a very similar setup to what we saw earlier. Canadian, through the shield, is able to put shots on one behind him, but Panmazoo wrapping around, cuts down hot and cold, but maybe Darkzero overcooking it a little bit. Panba and Nafe both go down. More importantly, Beast Coast lose that Monty. It might not have gained a whole lot this series, but it's still something Beast Coast want to keep alive.
Honestly, I'd say Darkzero's reached pretty equal footing. They're very capable from this situation. And JR was a little worried about how the swing would go, but that player is actually going to be on the outside of the building. Spirits is aware, rather, NJR is aware of Spirits, and he'll win it out. MPX at range, but still capable up against the 417. And not only that, but so many layers still to DZ too. You still got to worry about Bo inside that backline on the dock. That's something that's quite scary at the end of the day. BC do have some time to try and mull about. As you see Diffuser fling himself down East Stairs, they know they have to get something going.
They do, and there's actually only one player on the site. It's just Canadian on low HP. Diffuser doesn't check it until the last second, but cuts down Canadian. Bolo and NJR have to rotate back, but smart play. Bolo retakes the hatch as Gunner rotates into the other site. C4 goes out, but can't detonate him. Can only get an angle, and he finds it. NJR cuts him down, cuts down Diffuser too. 3K for NJR in round 1, and we've got another defensive victory to start off a map for Darkzero.
Most definitely. You got to be happy for NJR there, too. Is in a common day of DZ, he's not usually the one that gets to do all the fun antics anymore, is he? He's got to do more of the boring droning and breaching, like that kind of tone. But that time around, operating well with the MPX in hand, and something that we expect out of NJR. That's why they've started to lean in towards some of those harder guns. They're like, oh, well, you're really skilled. So as long as you can click them in the head, that's really all we need. Does a bang up job with that, but EZ going to be happy with that very first round going their way. BC just not really having a solid game plan as to how to get things going on that top floor. Running into a lot of issues just the same way that Luminosity did over on that east stairwell.
Yeah, literally the exact same strategy, except earlier, as you mentioned, no Valkyrie on the board for Darkzero. Canadian more so running Castle in that position sometimes, but still holding break room, and Beast Coast, who, I'm sure they weren't eyes glued to the screen. They're probably warming up, maybe even scrimming, who knows, but it is still falling prey to the exact same shenanigans. Not the best look to start out. Beast Coast will run the Monty back as, by the way, if you didn't watch the border game earlier, the bomb site was not really a factor in a lot of these rounds, so you might not have really noticed until the end that that was Teller's bathroom defense, as you saw with the planned attempt from Gunner. And now we go to the more traditional armory and archives. Typically, when you see the Monty, Sam, a lot of the times he goes into the archives door, right? You try to go for a very minimal take, go on the vent window, maybe get some control east and in the office, but beyond that, you keep it pretty small. Here, Beast Coast are spreading out over the entire map, pressuring a whole lot of different points of Darkzero's defense, which gives them, I suppose, some flexibility to rotate later on.
Like my favorite tribe song, man. East Coast like butter. Spread pretty thin right now, but they're starting to build some things up over towards the eastern edge, the eastern front. But Pamazoo, we know how active he loves to play around this position inside of office. Radio window still occupied. We saw a pretty crazy play from him in a very similar situation in the last map. Popped out this window, killed 2 over on the balcony, some escapades playing back in towards the office area too. Not going to go for anything just yet. As soon as that sign of danger, as soon as that Selma starts to break up that positioning, he makes the smart decision.
Nice.
He drops back downstairs, but he's discovered Beast Coast have another dog in this race. They have another angle downstairs, and they've somehow found that layer from Darkzero. What a discovery.
Actually, a really nice clear from Beast Coast. They've got the Selma on the wall. They're able to take down Pamazoo down below, but not finish him off, which means, statistically speaking, the opening pick going the way of Darkzero as NJR cuts down Spirits. Traded out very soon after. Polo's rotated down and stemmed Panba back up. He's alive to go for the flank later on in the round. This defender now entirely in the wind. Beast Coast undoubtedly not aware of it. Maybe they'll find the Oryx on a drone later on, but that is such a very quick heads up and smart play from Darkzero to take that risk and chance it, because now they've got the 4v4, and Beast Coast have so little control. They're trying to push in from office and archives, but they're only just now starting to pressure Fountain. They don't have anybody on the vent window. There's still CCTV for DZ, so they could pressure Fountain later in the round as well. This execute is coming together very late for Beast Coast, and they've got to get a handle on this swing. Panbazoo cut down, Nafe down below a little too late. Hot and Cold planting in the off spot. The C4 goes for the default on the door. So now Canadian wraps around, but it's Darkzero in the disadvantage. He'll move up the 90 hallway, but Beast Coast are slowly fleeing the building, going outside on the rappel while leaving Hot and Cold to gain intel inside of the site. All the impact to Canadian's name, so Hot and Cold should remain alive unless the dancing from Beast Coast can find an angle on his feet. Gunner instead moves into the window, takes the fight with Nafe, takes the fight with Canadian. Was it a bit over-aggressive? Perhaps. But am I going to fault him for getting a 2-piece to get Beast Coast there first? No, I will not.
Yeah, I can't exactly knock him for that. And you can't knock Beast Coast for how adamant they were about that office side push, man. I mean, they forced the peel back from Darkzero. Yeah, some nice adjustments from DZ. I love the fact that we see Bo make that adjustment, drop downstairs, get that res with the dock stem. Make it where they got that 4 versus 4. It's a great idea. But as that's going on and we have those 2 players down low, at the exact same time, BC are making an active play onto the bomb site, getting that case down inside of archives. And from that moment onwards, it gets extremely problematic for the defense. There's no real chance to try and re-entry, especially with Hot and Cold constantly feeding info to these remaining bodies from Beast Coast. Darkzero get gunned down in the end by Gunner.
A cheeky little multi-frag to get Beast Coast first round on the attack, and everyone celebrate. It comes before a tactical timeout. Didn't need to take one this go around. Doesn't really come from any major heroics either, though admittedly a very late clear, and Gunner needed to be clean there. It was even just a good off-plan spot from Hot and Cold. A decent attack from Beast Coast, and while they've only gotten one on each of these maps so far, it coming this early is just a nice breath of fresh air at the moment. Moving over to Darkzero's defenses, though, as Beast Coast, you could probably gather what the game plan's going to be there at this point. 3 maps into the series. Darkzero played all 4 bomb sites in their game against LG earlier. Ventilation Workshop and Customs alongside Teller's Bathroom and Armory that we've just seen. Right now with Ventilation Workshop in the cards, maybe we'll see Customs later. But Darkzero will roam, they will hold Break Room, they'll likely hold Armory and Office as well, and slowly peel things back once Beast Coast starts applying this pressure.
Short Canadian on the extension here again. But, I mean, what really isn't an extension on border, right? I mean, like, you go into the next room over, it's basically considered an extension with how little real estate there is on this map.
It's so annoying sometimes. You got to defend the whole map on border, like for most of these sites. Maybe one room isn't defended, but you really have to spread out far.
Yeah, 100%. And that's exactly why we see Beast Coast constantly putting Hot and Cold back onto this shield, and why we see them really just putting him on this character in general. Because it's kind of a master key. Border is just more of a display of that than anything, because he can walk on through, tell exactly where everybody is to the remaining bodies of BC like he did in the last round. Make their life a little bit easier. Gunner's already got a double kill inside of this round. To be honest, I didn't even know he'd killed Panbazoo.
He shot him through the wall, I think. So either way, on a very long angle. It's working out for Beast Coast and specifically Gunner so far. 7-1 after that huge multi-kill in round 2. Still some work for Beast Coast to do to actually get close to this execute. Vertical control still a priority and a desire for them. Bolo currently standing in their way alongside Nafe on the hatch. He'll drop down, but not fully. On a bit of, I guess, the opposite of a boost angle, though Hot and Cold anticipates it. Bolo also drops down. Not exactly going as well as they wanted. Nafe obliterated by the pistol, and Hotton overcooking it a little bit, but Diffuser will drop down, trying to get the trade. Put to 1 HP is Bolo, now prone on the floor as Diffuser wraps around, removes the Aruni from the equation, but NJR not long for this world either. Beast Coast, a monstrous, a miraculous 2 rounds on the attacking side, better than anything they've achieved on the previous maps.
I don't know if I'm more excited for BC winning offensive rounds, or I'm more excited to see Laxing's face after how tragically wrong everything has been, and then they choose offense again on border, and now there's like, no, we got it in the bag now. We're looking great. We're looking grand. As Darkzero, they cannot find the answer to these spearheaded clears by this shield.
It seems very difficult so far, though. I mean, when you have Gunner, whether covering the plant or just finding kills in the opener in these past couple rounds, winning every single fight, it's hard to have an answer for anything Beast Coast is throwing at you. When you try to respond to what they're doing, you just have a guy shutting you down at every single turn. And on border, that's a lot of times how these games can happen. It's how Beast Coast won 7-5 on Consulate. It was just more Gavini instead of Gunner that game. This might be a map that ultimately comes down to the hero plays, the individual performances. It makes border being the decider such a risky gambit from either of these teams. If Panbazoo heats up, drops 12 kills, how do Beast Coast come back? If Gunner drops 7 kills so far and is just pulling the team's weight on the attack, how do Darkzero find a way back in?
That's a key thing here. I don't even know if it's necessarily take out Gunner. I think it's just find a way to get a wrap on the rest of this game plan that we've been seeing produced by Beast Coast, because that's the main thing. Gunner's been doing a great job of plugging into the game plan that BC have been setting up for themselves. You know, same thing in that last round. You're never really going to see Ace overswinging things or trying to do too much in an early round scenario like that. So it's really just Gunner on a proper angle, or just taking something on a pretty short and condensed time period to be able to win something out there in the early round. And again, it's just all in the cards for BC. This isn't something that's just simply just out of thin air. So very well done from them, as they've found something on this offense
Sure.
that's made them tick. This time, it's a rush strategy. But Diffuser, he's going to go down with said Diffuser. They need to get this case back into their hands.
I mean, thankfully, Gavini can... Well, I mean, maybe he could back out. I actually kind of just remember he vaulted into sight and didn't just get the kill long. Bolo runs out and finds Gunner. Gavini in an isolated position as now Bolo can find him inside of the site. Intel relayed to the rest of the team that there is an Ashe in a spot where she shouldn't belong. Smoke goes out. That's just a brutal reaction by Darkzero. Smoke to force the rotation into the shotgun and the MP5. Really nice bit of coordination there by DZ. And Beast Coast heads up play. Their up-tempo aggression completely stymied by the defense. And Beast Coast, with a minute 10 left, starting to run out of solutions.
I'm happy that you bring up coordination because there was a lack thereof from Beast Coast in that Gavini runs inside, but on a completely different page than the rest of the team that are all still lurking outside on balconies, trying to get some position built up around windows. Just was not exactly there for them. And then he gets locked up inside the tellers and taken down. It's a 3 versus 3 though, so it's still a realm of reality where BC can pull this across the line. Darkzero though, they've done their due diligence. Just now to not overswing. That's the key thing. Gonna be rough here, especially for, I believe, Pamba in this position. Don't really see a way that he works his way out of this scenario. Spirits will be able to claim that kill. Canadian looking to reclaim the top floor. Speaking of, we'll do exactly that. Let's have one around the corner and one outside on the balcony too. Does he actually have the capabilities to shut this down? He's got the window angle. He's just gonna pre-fire it. Oh, Spirits hops in, but he doesn't kill him. Diffuser gets it. Spirits goes down. Minimal time, but it's just Canadian. Somebody has got to get this case, and Diffuser will do exactly that. Starts laying this on the ground. Hot and Cold will dip back into the door. He knows Canadian's right on the other side of the panel after the hot ping. A nice shot here from Troy. Oh my God! Troy Canadian and Darkzero. What a moment, as he'll be able to claim 2. The Deagle shot heard around the world. The first one that exits a magazine is the first one that meets his opponent's head.
Darkzero with heroics of their own, I suppose. If Beast Coast want to map off of it, why can't you get a teller's bathroom defense as well? Beast Coast seem to have a nice idea. They're able to find an opening inside of the site. Gavini floods in, opening pick, control inside of the site. It's all looking so good until it doesn't. Darkzero realized the play. Beast Coast aren't able to get Gavini out of that position, especially once the man count is traded, and especially once Darkzero are able to fully get the advantage back. Now Beast Coast do a good job of working the isolated picks, especially finding Panmazoo bottom east. But the low time and sort of the fumbling mid-round that Beast Coast went through is what ends up costing them, because Spirits put to 1 HP on that pre-fire. Not finished off, but he steps into a goo mine, goes down. You have to recover the Diffuser. You're low on time. Diffuser falls off the initial plant because he feels like he's got to help Hot and Cold on the swing. So when he goes back on the plant and Hot and Cold loses the fight, he can't fall off because he's got 5 whole seconds at 000. He's got to stick that. Really nice round by Darkzero. Again, maybe some heroics from Canadian, but still around with a lot of openings and a lot of ways they fought back.
100%. That's the key thing. They got to find some difference makers in these rounds. Like you said, Beast Coast, they kind of run off of energy. They run off of their capability to kind of stand tall with some of their key figures of this roster. Hero, virtuoso type things going on. For Darkzero, they can make some magic of their own, and that's exactly what we see inside of that last round. It just comes from Canadian, and it has been routinely coming from him inside of this series, and that's been the strangest thing. Bender's gonna get some access from down low. NJR gets taken out. That's 2 Claymores that have claimed lives now on this offensive side.
NJR falls on the aggressive play. Hot and Cold outside now trying to take the position, take the control inside of CCTV, can relay the intel of 2 remaining defenders playing around this top floor. Diffuser now rotating to use those beasts to try to enact or act off this acquired information. Still not a whole lot of other angles just yet, but now with the bees going out, a long angle from Bolo could still prove dangerous to anybody trying to peek behind that shield. Monty put to half HP. 3 drones remaining for Beast Coast as well. They've got the pick on NJR, sure. But when it comes to actually clearing out these defenders, Darkzero are very much retreating and playing on their own terms. Bolo decapitates Gavini behind him. There might be a Monty right in his face, but he's finding a way through this, finding a way to survive until the Fuser cuts him down. At the door of Armory, the Bees come out. Spirits cuts down another. Might be Canadian retaking it. Panbazoo hopping out, but that signals to Beast Coast that Armory itself is clear. So they'll move in to put the diffuser down, but Canadian wrapping around. Panbazoo falls. He's got to win this fight. He's got to land it here, but we're in the post. Beast Coast are moving back. They finished off the bandit, and the Bees go out just for safekeeping. They've spotted him from the outside. They've sealed up the round. Beast Coast retake their lead.
Beast Coast finding themselves on this offensive side once again, and it's the big picks, man, as well as the follow through on the map clear. Being able to discover Bolo inside of security, finding him in behind the bookshelf, some well-delivered stuns on top of the Monty, just keeping that constant beat on his location, making things really difficult, even for one of the most mechanically gifted players in the world. It's getting late here, folks, but I digress. It's one of those moments where BC are just more than capable of carving out these key players from Darkzero, finding that opportunity inside of the bomb site, finally getting that plant down. Although DZ did still have a few loose ends alive and well, they just weren't there in a quick enough fashion. And honestly, it just purely wasn't valiant enough.
Unfortunately not. Beast Coast now guaranteeing themselves an even half on their attacking side, and with how strong the defenses from both teams have been, though Border playing out admittedly very differently than Consulate and Clubhouse tend to pan out. It's entirely possible DZ could mount an even half on their defenses as well. Still, based off the precedent that we've seen, if Beast Coast are able to win a consistent string of defenses, now they really actually have a fighting chance at qualifying to Manchester off this series, depending on how Darkzero's attacking sides looks, and if, as opposed to BC, they remain a little weaker, whereas BC have at least improved or garnered enough heroics in some occasions to get those rounds over the line.
Well, it's down to round 6 here. If BC want to set a precedent, if they want us to know that they've really made some strides when it comes to these offensive sides, gotta come now. You can see Darkzero, they've reached deep inside of their utility belt here, deep inside of the strat book, looking for something new, and it's gonna come in the form of a site that we don't see all that often. It's gonna be customs. Darkzero try and hold on to this. Won't have the capability to actually lock things out when it comes to jail. Panbazoo actually strike first as he takes down Gav on a completely different, plane of existence practically from where we were over inside of that portion of the map.
You know what I'm vibing with? New site, final round on attack. Let's take a listen into Beast Coast comms and see how they're able to handle this new challenge.
We pressure CC and then I might be able to just sneak a plant or something.
Matt in jail. Speaking.
Oryx is your triple still, Zach.
Around the window, picking the window.
You have a dome cam?
No dome cam.
I'm getting you one.
Lit, should be lit.
They have this like, okay, we need to decide what we want to do. We're really split, boys.
Yep.
Nah, we gotta look at
Dude,
All comfortable for you, Zach.
They have a soulless break on me. They have a soulless break on me.
Alright,
That
can
is
we
right
take
here, I'll call for you.
CC? Can we take CC or no?
Can you double walk up with me?
Also,
Okay,
can
sorry.
Can you get on my cam? Can you get on my cam?
Yep,
Gab? Walk on metal.
Yep, dude, you're good.
I can
I'm on
walk.
it.
I can walk on metal.
Close, on ping. Fucking an armory.
That-
Nice.
Nice.
I'm not
I'm
walking
getting
metal. I'm resetting.
Look at close books is dock. Close books is one.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
rush
archives. I'm with Tatters.
all
There's
three
just
were
2 people.
above, guys.
Yeah, they're all 2 above.
Listen, dock is on ping. He's fighting books, running armory.
Can you walk it back up archives? Walk back up archives.
It's
Sure?
jail. Ran out jail.
Yeah, walk up back archives. Hit it back.
No,
up.
wait,
I'm walking jail.
One
Okay.
shop workshop.
One. Yep, you got
One's in
that.
workshop.
You have that cam,
Who's in
Matt.
workshop?
Front door
Who's in
cam,
workshop?
front door cam, front door cam.
Who's
If
in
you jump
workshop?
workshop.
Workshop guy. Let's
Yeah,
phenomenal
here's the front
guy.
workshop.
Hold my jump out, Sean.
Supply and workshop.
Join this workshop.
Yeah, but there's a
Zach,
guy
join
above,
workshop.
boys. That's the problem.
Let's
Join
go
workshop.
quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm ping, Zach. I'm ping.
Horseshoe.
I'm going to the front door.
One's gonna be like supply or like close front door probably.
Yeah, one was
Okay,
the
I'm
front.
gonna have to start working like passport, boys. We gotta start moving.
I'm in
This
front.
dock
I'm in
is
front,
okay.
Zach. Let's kill this guy. He's by service desk over here, I think. Sound. No, he might be by the hash. Might have jumped up hash.
Nice.
I killed above.
Nice.
Okay,
Hit
let's
site,
go.
guys.
Hit
Hit
site.
site. Hit site. You had to hit site.
Workshop door.
You just try and plant there, Sean? At the default spot? No one above.
Hold this vert, hold this vert. There,
No one above. No one above.
50.
No one above?
25.
No.
No one above. No one above.
Okay.
Attackers are activating the bomb diffuser.
What are you doing?
I'm going blue death.
Go on me, Sean. In mini. Fight.
One bottom middle, bottom middle.
Mini,
Bottom
mini,
middle.
mini, mini.
I'm fighting him.
Not fighting. I'm playing post. I'm
He's on
playing
me, on me,
post.
on me. Yeah, go for it.
They're
Go,
comms,
go.
yep.
Oh, we could call
25.
hits off audio, Sean. Think.
Crouch, you could go jail.
Defenders have located the
You might think you're above.
Nice, Sean! Good fucking job.
Not the cleanest round from Beast Coast. You can see really struggling with that workshop position and fully clearing that out. But the thing Beast Coast have been so good at throughout this whole series is winning key 1v1s when they need to. And Gunnar dealing with the vertical position. The workshop player also eventually at least being somewhat contained or dealt with once they're able to start pivoting over to the other site. It wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, but Beast Coast have a 4-2-half starting on the attack, Sam, finally making good on their promises, picking this side to start.
Yeah, it definitely was not clean cut, was it? But, I mean, they got the job done, and that's what matters. This offensive side has been so hard fought for both of these teams throughout this entire series thus far, and it has not worked out for any party up until this moment. Beast Coast are going to get a 4-2. They're going to shift on over to the defensive side now, and now they are the ones that have the reins when it comes to border. Yeah, Darkzero, they are playing offense, but we all know who really holds the keys to the castle when it comes to this map. It's the defense. Let's see what BC want to do, and specifically, what's our 12-2 Gunner going to do in a scenario like this?
He's been so on form this game. I mean, matching Panmazoo's scoreline when Darkzero were swapping off their defenses earlier, though obviously doing it on the attacking side. Panmazoo was so instrumental for Darkzero's efforts on border against LG. Gunnar here bringing Beast Coast so many rounds, so many plays. I mean, that customs round probably does not go their way if Gunnar does not get that kill on the vert and then get the diffuser down and win the 1v1. On defense, he might maybe get a little over aggressive, but 12-2 on the Solus. He's a threat that Darkzero have to worry about, and Canadian will immediately concern himself with. Drone going out, Gunnar will consider it, but then back off from the main door position. There are a lot of players from Darkzero hovering around this middle floor. Panmazoo creeping in, will spot the Solus, but overflicks by just a hair, and Gunnar's able to land the shots, will be traded out. But Buck in turn for Solus, a lot of promising utility lost, but given that it's a second floor site, oh my God, I was about to say, maybe you'd wish Gunnar was alive to deny the vertical, but Hot and Cold's ratting in shower.
A lot of things going on here for BC. A few hidden doors, a few tripwires too. Darkzero have to make sure that they are aware of all quantities, all different ways that this equation can go, all solutions that lay in front of them. 4 versus 4, they've got some time under their belt. Drones that are going to be quite successful at finding a good amount of utility. Also some Twitch drones still at the Canadian, but he's going to lose that at the top of metal. Well, it does still have some flashes too, as he is inside the area, but not exactly on the same plane. He's going to be a little vertically disadvantaged at the bottom of metal for now. 15 now remain for DZ as they're looking about on this top floor, seeing exactly how they want to try and entry this. Still trying to lean on this info game as much as possible because BC have slowed things down quite a bit after that Gunner pick.
They're all just holding back behind these castle barricades, using these meat jammers to play intel. Diffuser! Be careful, my friend. You're in the 4v4. Darkzero starting to get low on time. Don't give them the opening they see. Gavini's got the right idea. Still sitting behind. Oh, Bolo can't thread the needle. Gavini almost losing his life. Would have been a great shot from Bolo. Could have even been a better cutoff, but Gavini somehow gets away, and Diffuser somehow gets the pick on NJR. 4v3 for Beast Coast, and now they can fully start hanging back on a long angle. Gavini won't exactly take my advice. Still press the issue. An angle Bolo was not expecting. Canadian Nafe stuck outside of round 7 in such a disadvantage. Gavini will give away 1. Spirit's good on the trade, though. Good for the 1-for-1. Canadian Stuck on Armory balcony, will find Diffuser. Excellent pre-fire. He's got 1-1VX so far. Can you find the next 2 with 5 seconds remaining? Not Spirits, unfortunately. 5-2 now for Beast Coast. Just 1 round away from Manchester qualification point.
Man, oh man, is BC making these defenses complicated. Constantly making it to where Darkzero cannot get a clean opener, cannot get a clear footing, not a clear path in front of them really to try and work too much. I mean, yeah, they're able to get some picks, but I mean, BC's ability to, especially in that last round after that pick from Gunner, just slow things down, make it to where DZ are forced into kind of some of their old escapades, right? Allowing that timer to dwindle down so very far before they really start to get active again. And BC, once that critical mass is reached, are more than capable of sweeping that round under the rug. Causes the Darkzero timeout, and I really don't know how effective that's going to be for them.
I mean, obviously, you'd hope it'd be effective if you want this series to be competitive, if you want Darkzero to keep their shot at qualifying for Manchester a bit more alive than it would be. Now, I mean, to be fair, last stage, they did have to qualify through the bottom spot, through the 3rd place position. And even then, they almost dropped that game against Wildcard. Coincidentally, if maybe Polo isn't subbing in for Merc in that game, they actually have to go through the LCQ and Wildcard qualify. So it won't be an unfamiliar position for Darkzero, but given the struggles they have had this stage, it isn't even as confident a bet as it was last year. So losing to Beast Coast when the attacks from both teams have looked this way, to be fair, but Beast Coast have at least been a bit more consistent on, oddly enough, the heroic plays we often deem to be too inconsistent to win rounds off of. After this tactical timeout, round 8 has to be a win for DZ. It's not an unwinnable game, but betting on them winning becomes so much more difficult if they can't find an answer, a solution, and a comeback after that timeout going into round 8.
I mean, this has to be a success story, right? This has to be where they start to get some traction on this offensive side, because if not, Beast Coast are 1 round away from punching their ticket to Manchester. And that's something that just can't be the case for Darkzero. DZ changing things up for themselves, hoping that this changes their fate too. Canadian going to shift back to the shield. We've seen him try and find very true results in recent past. I'm going to lean on that for round 8, hopefully find some success.
Now, we've seen the game plan with the Monty. I mean, it's always to try and go for those executes. Of course, you can also use that Monty to try and brute force some control in particular positions, especially on Armory. If you can get Canadian on the balcony, looking in those head holes, or looking at CC, looking through the window, or the head holes, the doorway, what have you, there's a lot of pressure that could be found. There is one player that Canadian spots close on the Armory balcony. So he'll just sit here. He can spot both, and Nath can cut down Gunner in admittedly a very silly position. I think this is high time at this point with that odd kill onto Gunner, and the mini execute starting to come about. To take a listen to DZ's comms as the Monty faces a lot of pressure.
Swinging. And then one Armory door.
I can from your deep.
I can maybe
Just flash my books.
Running up books. Running up books, knockdown. I need flash rocket.
I'm down. Watch this books. Gotta walk triple.
Walking safe. In safe. By the
With it, Mirror?
Bad ping. Yes, prone safe.
Nice,
Safe,
3-3.
add your window. Add the window.
Finishing this guy.
Watch your found, Rob. Watch your found.
Easy window crouch. Easy window crouch.
Metal.
Last one was CC. Okay, metal.
No, he was metal.
Reset.
Yeah. Pop metal still, circle. Or blue.
I can swing with you. One of them swing with this. Play together. Nice!
Good shit, guys. Good shit.
Extremely chaotic. Extremely chaotic, that round. I mean, what, I wouldn't even start with that. I mean, we've got the Monty on the Armory balcony, right? Facing a lot of pressure. Bolo gets timinged because he's got an air jab out. Both end up falling. Pamazu's able to walk into Armory and get a kill. And then all hell breaks loose in the comms. Everyone's yelling over each other. Bolo screaming at Rob to check his fountain. And thankfully, Darkzero do get that round over the line, but put together second by second.
Yeah, that was definitely on a moment-to-moment basis, wasn't it? And it was never really clean cut how it was going to go, especially after that swing like you were touching on with Bolo outside on the balcony. I mean, It could have gone either way, but fortunately enough for Darkzero's sake, they're able to pull things back across the line. After those 2 big deaths, they're able to convert with some big kills of their own and open things up on the actual bomb site. Making things a little bit harder for BC, but they still have quite a few rounds to try and find their groove too when it comes to these defenses. So hopefully they can do exactly that. They're already going to throw themselves into a different bomb site. They go down to the bathroom as well as tellers to try and hold on to things. I like this addition of Gunner on the mirror here too. This application on the top floor looks like it might provide a pretty solid layer for Beast Coast to work around.
Yeah, we saw Gunner kind of playing here in that game against OXG at the start of the stage. Then again, it's not exactly an uncommon position to play. You put the mirror on the single panel, allows you to fight East Stairs. This is something I imagine Darkzero will have in mind for how to deal with when it comes into their prep for this game. I like this from Bolo. Always like it when we see teams take quick control of customs, because on Teller's bathroom, they can cut down or cut off the rotate back from East Stairs, can pressure the hallway. Just have to make sure you don't end up dropping the fight to Diffuser. The castle caught lacking. Bolo, a free pick right there. 5v4 for Darkzero, and now they have the benefit of being able to focus on the rest of the execute. They can start looking at that top floor, flexing upstairs, while still retaining such a key bit of map control acquired essentially for no cost at the attack.
This positioning here now. Although they've lost a fuser, we see have had the ability to slow things down and keep things at least kosher. And that calculative nature here, at least on border, will find them Pambazoo. We saw how effective Pambazoo was earlier on in the day, even earlier on in this series, where he had some pretty serious bright moments. Now he'll be riding the bench for the remainder of round 9. Olo, I'm going to see if he can find something over inside of Customs. The rest of the team trying to form around him. You can see them over inside of the... I thought that was them over inside of that area there, but the outline color a little different. They were the blue team the last time, but not this time around. Instead, it's going to be Nate on the outside of the building. So instead, he's going to shift gears too. Much better idea. There's nobody actually around in that neck of the woods to really be able to assist him.
Oh, Canadian tagging up Spirits through the break room wall. Able to down as Spirits hops over into the courtyard. Highly doubt Canadian even is necessarily aware of that. But at least we know it is a 4v3. Well, maybe just an effective 3v3 as Gavini with the C4 and with the gun earlier in the round have got the advantage. A triple at this point, undealt with inside of Workshop. Another clutch situation for Bolo and Canadian, or for Darkzero as a whole. Gunner pops up. There's a mirror window looking at him, though. On the breach, Bolo's not aware. Canadian got to bring this one back, but Diffuser in the control of the defense. Canadian revealing his position over by East Stairs. He's still got the mirror window to watch him. C4 goes out. Shots land. Gunner, a sigh of relief. And a joyous scream afterwards. Match point, qualification point for Beast Coast. And organization first in their palm of their hand if just one more defense goes their way.
It all comes down to this for Beast Coast. You said it yourself, something that hasn't happened in org history for BC. And let me tell you, BC's been around for a very, very long time, ladies and gentlemen. The very first time that we ever saw Beast Coast, all the way back in 2018, after acquiring the roster of Reckless, who consisted of Breezy, Foxay, Goddess, ZZ, and Schlongy. That's how long it's been. Goddess, the coach of Sonics, was on an orgless team before she was ever even on Cloud9, and then got picked up by Beast Coast. This org's been around the block. This is something that's very well deserved from them. It's something that they are still going to have to hope and pray this Beast Coast roster can pull off. Darkzero still have the chance to play spoils. It's just going to take them a little bit to get to OT.
It might take them a little bit indeed, but Beast Coast keeping up the pace. Gunner hasn't missed a beat. 15-4. Spirits back on Boss G. ACOG, not even going to talk about it. It's real. It's here. We've already talked about it plenty of times. We are going to let it happen. And as I asked Zach, I was like, what's the point? What's the point? Why you do it? He's like, if I hit my shot, it one shot to the chest. And I'm like, Fair enough. I'll give you that one. Of course, we did see the visual work quite well on Clubhouse, Sam, as Gavini sitting right next to the bar doorway, or the main doorway, excuse me, was entirely unaccounted for by the Darkzero attack. Spirit's in a bit more of an aggressive position here, playing in break, playing on top of courtyard. Darkzero maybe won't know what Vigil's there, but seeing the castle barricade as well and the setup will likely get an idea that somebody from Beast Coast is playing that position. Will they know it's somebody who can one-shot to the chest? Who's to say? They'll likely still be aware that somebody is running around in that part of the map.
I mean, what a story it would be if Darkzero's hopes, at least in this moment, are dashed away by a Boss G ACOG. That would be quite something, but it would obviously have to come to fruition first before we really talked about it. Darkzero working their way in on this top floor, at least when it comes to the drones, but BC have done their due diligence, holding steadfast, not only when it comes to some of these extremities, but also when it comes to this bomb site. Making it very difficult to try and not only get any info, but try and get any gameplay going on when it comes to a few of these angles.
I mean, you can see the difficulty Nafe is having right now with that gunfight top metal. He's already used the bees, Pamba lurking down below, but Hot and Cold's taking down the vent player. They want to go for this rappel they went in against the LG game earlier. Nafe is supposed to smoke in, or sorry, rappel in off the back of the bees. Try and put the diffuser down, but with the ventilation window player gone, it's much more difficult to stomach it. He'll rotate to the vent window instead. And now it seems off the back of the OSA. Darkzero to try and save their chance at qualifying for the major, going for the Archives plant, but Nafe will have to hop in through the window. Canadian baiting out the utility with that Talon shield will go in. C4 will likely come out as a logical response by Gunner. He'll hold it, he'll wait. Gavini and Hot and Cold both follow up with 2. Gunner sends it over. Canadian blown sky high. Bolo in the 1v5 on Armory Wall can't do a damn thing. For the first time in this org's history, Beast Coast and an island of misfit toys find their way back to stardom and qualify for the Manchester Major.
Beast Coast, best coast, baby. For the very first time, Carter, that phrase means something, damn it. Oh, wow. What a
Oh my God, Gunner is yapping so hard.
Dude, I would be too, man. You just made a major. I mean, you said it yourself. This is practically the island of misfit toys. These were all the players that people were like, we don't know if we exactly think they fit into these other mainstay rosters. So they made their own, and then they beat the rest of them. That is absolutely insane. BC, congratulations. From Lynx, from myself, congratulations to all of you. This is truly something else. We cannot wait to see you in Manchester. This is very, very well deserved, but we just got to sing his praises. It's Hot and Cold, man.
Oh,
his
yeah.
capabilities, not only that, man, but his ability to resonate with so many rosters throughout his entire campaign of his Rainbow Six career. I mean, it is just unprecedented how talented this guy is.
And of course, like you said, congratulations to Beast Coast for qualifying to Manchester. The story's not done for Darkzero. They've been here before, trying to qualify through the third place match. Last stage, they'll have to do it against OXG tomorrow. That is it for Sam and I today. We won't waste your time any longer. We got the desk coming up to break down all that and more right after this.
Gunner sleuthed off Sonics, Hot and Cold ejected from Space Station, Spirit separated from Wildcard, Gavini dislodged from Darkzero, Misfits all coming together to find a common purpose. They pick up a rookie who they themselves are unsure of, and what happens at the very end of it? Beast Coast, for the first time since entering Siege in 2018, have qualified for a major. I cannot believe those words just came out of my mouth. It's real, it's happening. The island of misfit toys is going to the island of the United Kingdom.
I mean, I'm just going to double down on what you just said with those 4 guys. I mean, Gunner, Gav, Hot and Cold, Spirits were not the problem. Diffuser just got there, he just started, and they made it. They made it.
They absolutely did. And you gotta feel happy, not just for the players, not just for the people around them and the support staff, but also the fans. The Beast Coast fans who have been through thick and thin, mostly really rough games from Beast Coast for the last couple of years, finally locking it down, a tier 1 team at the highest level, competing internationally for North America. I know there's a lot of Beast Coast fans out there who have been waiting for this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And they can finally say they're gonna get to watch their favorite team at an international event. That's crazy.
I mean, I know Grant, their CEO, personally has been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah.
I believe it, man. It's been a journey for sure, and obviously for this squad in particular, these 5 players, it is a new journey. Obviously, they've just come together for the first time. I'm sure they've made a lot of new fans through this journey as well, but you gotta give it to them at a time when every other top team in NA seems to be struggling. Sonics, Darkzero, Space Station, whoever it is. So many of the Titans of North America are struggling. It's this brand new squad to come together and get it done. An incredible story from Beast Coast. Well deserved.
But it goes in, I mean, sure, there are Titans of North America, but you got to think all 4 of these players adding Diffuser, they came from Titan rosters, and now they're making themselves to be a Titan roster in NA, and they're doing it beautifully. I mean, they picked attack 3 times in a row, and third time was the charm.
It's crazy to think that even though we've put faith in Darkzero as a North American fan base for such a long time, there's still a chance they may go to Manchester, but now we're putting faith in a team that used the element of surprise, that nobody had any idea how they were going to play, using coach tactics from a guy with 100K on TikTok that's now about to try to propel us to a new height that we haven't been to before. I'm really curious to see how this team does in Manchester.
I think they'll do well, to be honest. You got 4 players that have the international experience, that have had successful careers, and now you're just slotting Diffuser. That's going to be the biggest question for me, is that sure, you can do well regionally, you know who you're playing against,
right?
But now you're going to be playing against Brazil. Now you're going to be playing against Europe. Now you're going to be playing against APAC. That is where you really get tested as a player. Like, great, you do it well regionally, you have to do it internationally.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I think they can do it. The way that they've been playing so far, their explosiveness on a lot of these pushes, even though they didn't find all the attacking wins today, their ability to go up and find those weak points on the attack, on defense, guys like Gunnar putting up ridiculous moments, just in an individual in a rough spot, shoots his way out of it. We saw that time and time again. So impressive from so many of these players. I think Gunnar, obviously the main one by the stat line, but other players as well. Diffuser, we've seen it from him for sure. Gavin's had some great games. Spirits, especially at the start of the stage, playing really, really well. And then Hot and Cold, the maestro behind the team, just orchestrating it all beautifully.
And just something quick. I mean, now that they are going to go to an international play, they have an 8-9 map pool now. Like, it's insane. Like, you're going into an international competition where you are looking solid on every single map.
I gotta say as well, I cannot believe that not a team decided we're gonna ban the Monty against these guys. Like, yeah, there were the maps here and there. Monty was never banned. Darkzero, obviously, I mean, in their contracts, they've got to ban Dokkaebi every map. So, and obviously they play a lot of Monty themselves. But it's crazy how much they're able to play with this playstyle, and it continues to work for them every single time.
3 guys from teams that made international appearances last year. Spirits on wildcard had to find his own way. That trio, adding Spirits to the mix and adding a guy who at this point is our de facto rookie of the stage, decided if the teams that we were on in the previous year don't want us, then screw it, we'll do it ourselves. That's exactly what they did. It's the highest result Beast Coast have ever landed, not just, I mean, domestically for sure, but you're going to Manchester. I don't know what any of those dudes happen to be feeling right now, but the fact that this experiment worked out when it had no rights to be this well right out the bat.
Well, Jesse saw it happening.
Jesse was the prophet, that's true. I forgot about that.
It's the best roster Beast Coast has ever produced, undoubtedly. We thought it might be true at the start of the stage. After the first 2 weeks, we thought maybe it's actually not. Maybe we gotta bring back Mr. B, but now we can confirm this is the best roster Beast Coast has ever had, and they should feel very proud of themselves.
Talk to our MVP of this series. Gunnar is on the line. 3 straight attacks against Darkzero. Might be a bit gutsy, dude, but you made it work. Congratulations, you're going to Manchester. Before we talk about the big accomplishment, talk to me about this series and talk to me about how it was playing Darkzero overall.
I mean, that shit was just too easy, like straight up. I actually laid my nuts on it. It was just like, I was actually having a field day. I was having too much fun.
You seemed like it, dude.
I don't know, like that was just, our team's something else right now. I'm telling you, bro, y'all do not understand. I've never been on a team like this in my life.
Are those tears I see in those eyes, dude?
We didn't even hear that. They must be
Dude, I
tears
was
in
gonna
his
say you're
eyes.
underwater for a sec.
Well, I gotta ask
No,
you,
no,
Gunnar. I mean, going into this series, you guys obviously had a huge bounce back. You talked about hot and cold being a big factor of that. You guys all coming together, finding the teamwork that you wanted to play off of, and then you find yourself in this situation. You obviously lose that last map. Then you go into this. I mean, what was the play? What was the mindset going into this border? I like it.
To not no, wait, hold on. It was on attack, just sit outside and don't do anything but open up windows and walls, and then you'll kill them.
Good strat.
That was the game plan. I'm not joking.
I mean, it worked. It clearly worked. I was skeptical because, I mean, I saw attack for the third time in the first 2 maps. I mean, you know, I don't want to say you guys were bad, but it would look very awful. And then,
They were bad.
I mean,
Okay.
border, I'm glad that's how detailed it was. It was just, we're opening up a wall, we're taking the site. That's what it did. And it worked. It worked beautifully.
Yeah.
Gunnar, you're now headed to the international events once more. You're going to Manchester. As somebody with experience in these situations, right? You've been to international events before. What are you most excited about now going with Beast Coast? And is there anything that you're concerned about, anything you want to fix going into that next level of play with this brand new team?
I mean, it's going to be night and day difference. Diffuser's going to be the first time he's ever played on LAN. We have a lot to fix. We're not a perfect team. I mean, it showed with the attacks today. We were honestly abysmal until border. So we have a lot to polish, but just with the time frame we had with like NAL, we just had to like crunch our Montane and just pray to God.
Yeah.
But like, luckily enough, we have a really good map pool. We have a good like. We're gonna like. I think by the time Manchester comes, like we'll be a lot more polished of a team. I'm really excited to see how we do. I think we're gonna do great. I mean, our team's just full of beasts. You know, we all got dropped. I don't think any of us deserve to be dropped. I mean, I think this shows like we're all great players.
I said it.
So you know, and I'm happy that you know everything happens for a reason. I love my team. I would not trade anyone for anyone. It's just so much fun, so talented, and everyone is just like. We're down 1-5, 2 maps in a row, and we're just sitting there giggling. I'm on a mute roam screaming. Wait, I wish you guys could hear the comments on the mute roam. I was literally getting kills and just like hysterically laughing. I'm telling you, this shit was too fun.
Please tell me those get recorded and they'll go on YouTube later.
Oh,
I'm begging.
it's recorded. It'll be up. I'm just saying, like, we're just having too much fun. These teams are all stressing. They're all, you know, they get all they're fighting for their lives. We're just having a good time, so.
Made it work clearly from one stage directly into the next. How do you think you stack up against other teams that are probably going to be playing internationally? Like Asia plays different from Brazil, plays different from the way the UK plays, and then you've got this whole other thing that you've been brewing for only about the past month. How do you think you're going to stack up?
I mean, I think we're gonna go there and compete. You know, they're not familiar with us. Yeah, we're not really familiar with them, but like all of us except for D have played internationally. We know how it goes. We know how the teams roll. I'm really excited to see, honestly. I can't promise that we're gonna like something crazy, but like I think this will just be the start of something great.
Talk to me about Fett and Froshi. One of them has been to SI before, working for Elevate in kind of a co-coach role. The other was in Tier 2 as of about 3 months ago. Talk to me about what your support staff is like.
Well, I mean, they work so hard. Like just day and night, doing prep, doing everything they can for us. They do everything we ask. They listen to us. They don't, you know what I mean? It's just, we have such a good team dynamic, and they're just, you know, to top it off, like they're seriously so great. Both of them. All
right. Anybody else you want to shout out before we let you go, dude?
Shout out all the people that said I was dog shit. Fuck you guys. I'm nasty.
Is that it? Is that all you got to say?
That's all I got to say, bro.
Fair play, dude. You can now officially talk your shit now that you've qualified for an event. Again, congratulations, buddy. Have a lot of fun, but we will see you for one final game tomorrow, so don't let your foot off the gas, okay?
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations to Beast Coast.
I love Gunnar. I love Gunnar so much.
My favorite interviews, I'm going to be completely honest.
We've had a bunch of good interviews today, man.
Yeah, we have.
I don't think that we had a single bad one all day. That's pretty rare. Oh. That's it, dude. That's 2 teams qualified for Manchester off rip. Darkzero are not done. They will still have a 3rd place game against Oxygen tomorrow to decide the 3rd participant from North America going that doesn't have to worry about LCQ. But right now, let's just bask in Beast Coast glory for a second.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, I know we've touched up on this 100 times, but it's hard not to talk about. This was a team that realistically in the beginning, this is not where you would have saw them finish throughout the stage in first place, and then let alone now attending Manchester.
It's incredible. I mean, it's really a testament to the individuals, and he said it best himself. None of them should have been dropped. If I'm any team other than I guess M80 right now, I am looking at this roster that's just qualified, and I'm going, darn it. Shoot.
I mean,
crap. Why did we drop that one player that's now on Beast Coast?
I want to say this. Now, this is a honeymoon phase, 100%. They are everything is working.
Sure.
Like, sure, they did start out a little weak, but this is 100% a honeymoon phase. They are finding a lot of success very fast. Not to say it's not hard work that's being put into it, but every team eventually will run into this. I've ran into it through my career, and once you hit that bump in the road, it can really hurt you.
That might be the case for Beast Coast as it stands. But think about the teams that dropped all of these guys. Space Station, LCQ. Sonics, LCQ. Wildcard, LCQ, but they also did a complete reforging. Darkzero still obviously could qualify, but everybody who's dropped one of those guys, for the most part, isn't going to Manchester before Beast Coast is going to Manchester. That is the craziest part of this entire cycle right now.
Yeah, and I mean, for Darkzero, it's going to be a tough one for them, going up against Oxygen, who for a long time were the best team inside of North America at the start of this stage. And also, you've played an insanely long day of Siege today. You got to go to bed, wake up, and play again tomorrow. There is no downtime, no rest. I'll say it here. If there's any roster that you want to be seeing put to the test who could come through, it is Darkzero, who have more experience than almost any other roster inside of North America.
Fair.
But it is still an incredibly tough task for them. Oxygen Esports is going to be no easy feat tomorrow.
I mean, I'm a little worried for Oxygen too. They found themselves in a very similar situation last stage where they could have possibly have made it. Now you're going against Darkzero, where Darkzero, for some reason, every single time I played against them, and even now, they like to power up against Oxygen. So, I mean, I'm worried for Oxygen.
Yeah, I mean, it's even like going into the top 4, you know, 3 of the 4 teams are going to qualify, right? You got pretty good odds. You're Oxygen, you're sitting there. We got top 2 seed. Wow. Come on, we're pretty much guaranteed to go. 75% chance. It's down to a 50-50 now, and it's all going to come down to a single best of 3. So the stakes are just getting higher and higher, and obviously, other than the LCQ, there's no more second chances if you lose that 3rd place game.
Well, we got 2 games still left to go. One of them is for the Stage 1 NAL Championship, and the other is for qualification to the same stage as at Manchester that both M80 and Beast Coast themselves have already qualified for. Those are the only 2 games that we have to worry about for this whole stage left. We're not counting the LCQ in that number. That is a whole other thing that we'll have to break down when we finally get down to it. But 1 spot remains for Manchester in a non-LCQ context, and that will be decided tomorrow. For all of us here in Philadelphia, thank you very much for joining us on Selection Saturday of the NAL. We'll see you tomorrow, one final time. Have a good night.